It's not about the names you've built. It's not about what you achieved in the past. It's about what you can achieve today. For 3 months, 10 teams fought against each other, climbing the mountain, trying to get access to the throne. But today, only 2 remain. On one side, X7, the unstoppable onslaught, have been taking names throughout the entire split. No one is safe versus Haru, the king of the jungle. But on the other side, Bifrost raised their shields and brought X7 down to their knees 2 times, stealing away the perfect split away from X7. The unthinkable was achieved. Last time they met in playoffs though, X7 broke the shield and brought down Bifrost. But today, they face again. The shield turns into spears and the trophy will be claimed. Welcome to the Northern League of Legends Championship! Split, there we go, grand finals are upon us. It is X7, it is Bifrost, and I'm your host, Alexandre Acharon Maia. It is with the utmost respect and pleasure that I welcome you all to another transmission. And before we move on, we need to meet who's going to be following me in this pre-show. I have to introduce yet again, and I met him for the first time, Torok, the coach from JDXL. Welcome.
Hey, but
hello,
I
guys.
have to say, I actually have to start off with an apology to you, Torok, because when I was on my first broadcast at the split, I came on with this Death Note, and I wrote some names in it, but what you might not have seen, though, is there was some small print. Production, can you tell us what the small print was? Because it had a bit of an Easter egg there, as much as I'm very happy to have you on, I may have inadvertently caused your doom. It does say in there, you'd lose in the first round of playoffs to Riddle, and I'm so very sorry.
Really?
Nymera.
Really?
It really does, yeah.
He's a monster.
That's the one.
Well, welcome aboard. That is
Thank
a good
you.
introduction for you, Torok. Moving on, okay, we still have today to talk about. We still have to, I hope, at least 5 amazing games between Bifrost and X7. But obviously, we have to look into the entire split, and we have to give awards to the players. I gotta say, I feel like this split was stacked for the NLC. That's why we're going to give away the MVPs. And before we actually show anybody, oh, there we go, straight up MVP, it's Eminence.
So, well, today is about the finals. It's about X7, it's about Bifrost, but we also have another duty to cap off the split and remember the path we took here. And one of the most standout players was, of course, your mid laner, Eminence. How you feeling, dude?
I mean, he's got to be so happy for this. I'm so happy for him getting this. This is a huge achievement. First split in the NLC, coming away as the MVP. I mean, it can go much better for him, got it?
And he unlocked a lot to the team, let's be honest. All the picks that he brought in, and then everybody copied. We got the Kai'Sa AP in the mid lane versus the Corki. We even got the Aphelios. I mean, it was because of Eminence. We played that Kai'Sa AP Pantheon, so it was a good combo. It was a good combo, I gotta say. And how did you feel having someone that allows you to bring so much into the table?
And it's wonderful to have a player who, as he said when he came on interview, right? He's got 20 games on every single champ in the mid lane, and this guy is absolutely crushing it when it comes to mechanical mastery over every champion.
There you go. Obviously, he's going to be the MVP of the split, but now we have to look into the pro team of the split. Analysts, casters, even production voted on this, and coaches as well, to see who would be the perfect team for this entire split, and the coach as well. So it's time to reveal the pro team. We got Shikari on top, Haru in the jungle, Eminence, Torok as the coach, Odie and Duel on the bot side. What do we have to say about this? Because I'm looking into it, and we have X7 members, Bifrost members, and yeah, so taking away Eminence.
There's a guy in the coach as well, you know.
I mean, but if you take the mid lane and the coach, everybody's in the finals. How do you feel about this?
Okay, that was a bit harsh, but the rest of the players are really good. The rest of the players are really good, and they're in the finals, right? So
yeah,
we can talk about them instead. Maybe next split. I mean, obviously, like, Shikari has been an absolute asset for Bifrost this split. In fact, across the board, Odie, Jewel, Shikari, they brought so much stability to this Bifrost lineup, especially mid to late game. There's something to always look out for, always a threat, and it's been one of the most impressive splits from all 3 of these players' careers so far.
Now, actually, on my personal ballot, I voted for Haru as MVP. I thought that he was an absolute standout player, and of course, course, they're in the All-Pro here too, so they're here as our most renowned jungler, at least from this split. And I mean, everyone on this list has done an awful lot of legwork. There is one quick shout out I want to give. Actually, I really thought Asdor had a great split in the AD carry as well. Odie, very hard to vote against because he's statistically so great and he's made it to the finals. Lots of names in contention, lots of very close votes. Sure, they'll be up on the NLC website at some point, but either way, this is a very stacked set of 5 players, and I guess it's an all right coach.
An all right
I
coach.
don't know about him.
That's exactly what I want to bring up. If you guys want to see the statistics, you can add on into our website, nlc.com, I believe, so you can see the statistics of these champions, of these players. Something curious enough, the idea that X7 is the super team and only one member is on the pro team. So that says a lot about this entire split and how stacked we were. Moving on, it's not only about the favorite players, like the favorite MVP, it's about the favorite moments as well. This is our time to actually appreciate those special moments that made the split. I picked one, Nightmare picked one, you as well, Torok, and even production picked one. So I'm going to start with you, Torok. What did you pick?
Well, I'm going to transport you back to the beginning of NLC when Eminem were on their rise, all right, and when they were about to take down X7, because I had so much belief in this Eminem lineup in this game to take it off X7. They were so far ahead. I was cheering from the XL side of things, and then it all went wrong. The entire game flipped on its head with this amazing team fight after Baron.
I think I know what you're talking about. Maybe that T2 dive on the top
might
lane.
be that one.
Maybe a little bit too
bit
much.
of heartbreak.
Let's take a look into that one, if possible.
On the map so quickly in his own right, you can't really leverage this TF to any extent that you want him to, and they're going for a top lane dive.
Here we go. Again, the onslaught of shadows comes through. Haru throws down the crescent guard. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. And
It's
it's
doing pretty
teleports coming
well.
through, and X7 are doing it. That's a massive Infernum ultimate. In comes the Binding Eclipse from the Gravitum as well. Shut down to Abound. Jaeger has the scissors, and he is looking to run with them. Best not tell the teacher, because he finds another kill in the top lane.
If we could have one song behind this one, what could have been from the Arcane show?
From the hit show Arcane, yep.
Yeah, Eminem was so close to greatness and then fell off short. What can we say about that?
And again, like, as we were saying, I mean, as much as today is about the finals, there's a road to there as well.
Yeah.
X7, they were so dominant right from the early split, and this was Eminem taking them to the brink for the first time that any team had managed to do that. So for them to pull out that kind of game and then to have it crushingly fall apart, was a bit of heartbreak. Obviously, I really enjoyed the cast of that game too. Sam and I obviously on the mics. I thought that was one of our favorite moments when we were stood just over there. And yeah, that was a very particular moment which I'm going to remember for a long time.
I would say the brother duo is doing a good job so far. Props to them as well. MVP to me as well. And the idea that you guys bring the Aphelios weapons every single team fight. It's not only the red weapon, the green weapon. No, you bring in the names. I like
Vocabulary.
that. I like that. That is bringing more into the segment. Also for you, Torok, the idea. Every single person was saying, okay, X7 are unbeatable. And that's when you actually saw that the armor could be dented. As a coach, when you saw that, did you thought like, oh, maybe we can do this?
And as soon as I saw Eminem beating them, it was like, one, either this team is way better than we expect, and as we saw, right, Royal Canin at the beginning of the split was playing extremely well, right? So not only was there a new, like, potentially playoff contender there, but also it showed that X7, like, they weren't playing perfect League of Legends. Eminem was taking them all the way, and in reality, like, the emotional roller coaster of that game showed that every single team in the NLC was beatable.
But bring it back to the X7 kind of positive side on that too. It also showed that they could come back from that kind of situation
100%.
too. So that's when we had these conversations like, oh, X7, how good are they really? And then you sit and watch that kind of game and you're thinking, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah,
I think
because
they're not going to lose.
recovering a game that is pretty much lost is an amazing feature. And now I want to send it over to you, Nightmare. I want to know your favorite moment of the split.
Really funny you mentioned that because my favorite moment of the split, or at least, look, there are so many, but my favorite one that I picked for now is another kind of hero play from the brink. This was back when Singularity were looking for their very first win, and it was against Riddle. They had themselves their best early game to date, and then a Baron still happens.
So let's take a peek at that one. I think everybody remembers as well. It's a good one, if I think I got the right one. So let's take a peek at it.
Yeppe playing solo blocker on the Karma, but this Baron is still only half HP. Singularity, I don't think they've done it quite fast enough if they want to avoid a fight.
Here it comes, the Ornhorn is down, the cask is too late, and there is the ultimate! Oh my word, Dragain is annihilated, it's deleted, but the Baron is still going on.
Oh, here's MC!
The ultimate. Here comes MC, the hero play, he's coming in! MC steals the Baron! What a play! Riddle have just flipped this game, they flipped the switch, and Singularity are annihilated from...
Can we put the music in replay?
Yeah.
What could have been again? That would be the first victory for Singularity. And maybe if they got that one, Riddle wouldn't be able to make
Say that.
playoffs.
I was gonna go for like some real power metal or some hardcore stuff. Did you hear the notes that Hip Rain and I were hitting? That
Hip Rain.
Like Hip Rain. First off, absolute mad caster in the studio. It was an incredible time with him being over here as well. Had some great memories from those kind of games. But having the emotiveness kind of shine through in that game, as much as neither of these teams did make it through into this stage of the playoffs as well, these are people that have been, also pulling out their own hero moments and showing the level of emotional roller coaster that we can have in this league.
Okay, that is their moments. I would like to bring in mine. You
I think
guys
we can
know.
tell which one it is.
Everybody knows what my favorite moment was, but let's take a look into it. Wait. Quick set. Oh! Give it to me! Yes! Ah! Oh! Give them nothing, but take from them everything. Yeah.
Get a bit excited over that.
A little bit, I would say. I gotta
hypey.
point it out that someone brought this yesterday to me, that post is the top 10 of the month still in Reddit. So we do good content over here. We do good content. And the production told me that they had like a specific sound.
Had like a cheering soundtrack in the background.
Ready for Pantheon.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear that.
Nobody heard
because
that.
You're too damn loud.
It is Pantheon, my dude. It is Pantheon. It was a victory as well. It was a lovely one. Okay, moving on to the production's favorite moment. This, to me, is golden. Take a look at it because Nightmare is going to dive into that one.
Traded, particularly with Ari at level 1 being able to use the electrocute. So it's here.
It's here.
It's arrived.
We've turned up to... I made the Jurassic Park reference and look who's turned up. Yes! Production! Oh, the drops in the water. You can see the ripples right now.
Okay, guide us through this.
For those of you who are joining us for the first time on our finals broadcast, you might not know we have a running joke with that duck just turning into some kind of elder monstrosity and playing some random sound effects. So that is randomized. Production don't tell us what's happening. We don't have any communication over that kind of issue. Sam and I were riffing on Jurassic Park, and they just so happened to have T-Rex locked and loaded into the sound files. It absolutely broke me. And I think working alongside this production, throwing his curveballs like that has been bliss this split.
The idea that Max, the sound guy, came running to me like, were you
what
aware
happened?
that we're going to do Jurassic Park? No one knew that. It was out of a sudden. And obviously, we have a lot of favorite moments throughout the split. If you want to share your favorite moments, head out into NLC Twitter and brought down your clips into the comments, if possible, so we can know what is your favorite moment. Obviously, one of the favorite moments, I would say, for everybody is the games in the pre-show. That's why
Ones I'm winning, maybe.
I mean, you're 50-50.
Ish.
So, I prepared something new today. It is running back to the true or false, but with new guidelines as well. So, to lay down the game before we move on into the topic. The game is quite easy. I'm going to lay out a sentence, and you press a button. I'll give you the button, soon enough. And you have to say true or false, 5-second rule. You have to be fast.
Hey.
After that, I'll award a point if you were correct or incorrect, and then I'll give you a bonus point for the bonus question. And the topic today is about X7, Bifrost, and playoffs. So without further ado, I would like to give you the buttons.
I don't like it when he messes with a good thing. I'm worried.
On the flip side, I've never lost a true or false.
Have you
Never
played a
won
tree?
You can have 100% win rate, 100% losing rate.
Yeah, I was set on 0% for a while. We'll see how this goes.
You faced off versus a Trouble. She's a mean machine when it comes to...
But then Goldborg, took it easy on me. So,
Yeah.
win.
100 after today.
You guys ready?
Ready.
As ready as I'll ever be.
First one. There is just one champion who has had 100% presence in the playoffs. True or false?
False.
Okay. You're saying false. You want to take a...
Well, I thought I was get to listen to this. Fine. Yes, it's true. There's one. And I'll think about which one it's going to be.
Zeri has to have been ignored one game, I think. But maybe I'm wrong.
It is false. It is Zeri, Jinx, and Heka with 100%.
There's 3 of them.
3 of them.
Oh, right.
That's why it
I
is
went the wrong
false.
way.
Bonus point. You're 1-0.
I'll
Bonus
take the win
point.
anyway.
Can you tell me how many times X7 have picked any of these champions? Go.
Does he have a timer for this?
What
Yeah,
champions?
5 seconds. These
5.
3 champions. Zeri, Jinx, Hecarim during playoffs.
How many times picked him?
3.
13.
2.
During playoffs. You're not really.
They've played 5 games.
Yeah, but for each champion.
That
Okay.
that's happened.
No, that is false. 0.
Really?
They haven't played a single time during playoffs.
They banned them all.
I'm shocked.
Yes.
No
Bonus
Zeri, no
points.
Hecarim.
It's an interesting one. Second
Malzahn.
question. You still have 1 point. Okay, you're ahead. There hasn't been a single Elder Dragon taken in playoffs. True or false?
I know this is false.
This is false. Wait. This is false. I'll give you the answer. It is false. Because
There's a
bonus
series I
question.
participated in.
Wait. Bonus question. Okay, so it is false because only 1 Elder Dragon has been taken during playoffs. Bonus question. Can you tell me which team took Elder Dragon?
Yeah. JDXL.
Okay. For the bonus
I feel like
point,
this is an uphill battle here.
bonus. Can you tell me who won that game?
Can I guess it was Riddle?
Riddle.
I'll give you 1 point. I'll give you 1 point. Okay, 3-1 so far. Yeah, 3-1. Moving on.
Hey, for the 3-1, that's not your comfort zone though, is it?
No, I've not managed to hit
my-
3-1 all season.
Okay, third one. Tempt has the highest KDA in playoffs. Oh, okay, there we go. Nightmare, it's up to you.
False.
Okay. It is false, so you get 1.32.
That was a guess.
For bonus question,
Who does
who
have?
has the highest KDA then? 5, 4, 3, 2.
Viking.
You think Viking?
Yeah.
I know you want to answer something different, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, tell me. You didn't need to press it. Tell me.
Kasing.
Oh, that is a good take, but I gotta say, it is wrong, my dude. It is Backland.
Oh, I knew it was one of the Dusty players. Oh, it's so sad.
8.1 KDA.
They went on like a 6-0 win streak. It had to be them.
He's at
7 have only played the one
8.1,
series.
which brings him back 0.1 from the top 5 VRL, by the way.
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow. It's crazy,
8.2.
actually.
It's Bach. It's a Portuguese guy. He's playing in LVP. He's amazing, by the way. But yeah, it's 8.2.
Allegiance
Almost got
is
it.
being tested there. friend.
Last question. Before the season started, okay. Before the season started, we asked every player which team would crash and burn this split. Which team was the only team that Bifrost players answered with? It was you, but I'll give you. Okay. Which team? Because this is no longer true or false. You have to tell me which team they picked.
It's one of the Norwegian organizations, is my thought process.
Tell me a name.
Branding.
5.
Veneer.
Veneer. What about you?
I think. Well, sorry, this is ones which only Bifrost voted for.
No, Bifrost. The entire team of Bifrost answered that this specific team would crash and burn.
Naruki?
Is that your final take?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Naruki. If it's every single one of them asking it, and you said.
It's one of the Norwegians, surely. I'm sure it's.
Well, they're not. But they're not.
You're
They're
going
not
with
Norwegian.
Vanir, and you're going with Nuriki.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, there we go. So that's why they are incorrect.
Oh.
They
We're really
picked-
good at this game, by the way.
We're doing good.
Yeah, I've noticed. You won, but not by a lot.
I won.
It is X7.
Oh, that's kind of hilarious, actually.
Aha!
Wait, it's almost like you were setting this up for a really good point about today's finals, and we completely blanked on it.
makes a lot of
Bifrost
sense.
brought into the questionnaire that they actually, they actually thought X7 would crash and burn, and then they meet up in semifinals. And something happened. We got access to 5 games. It was a beautiful series, and we need to discuss that before we jump into that game. What can you tell me about that one?
That whole series, huh? Well, it was a 5-game series, won the entire distance, and given X7 came in with a losing couple of games in the last parts of the regular split, we had some questions. We thought they'd bounce back for plus. Not sure we thought it would be this close, even with all of those factors coming into it, though.
Yeah, I mean, the way this series unfolded, it was very close. Bifrost was playing out of their mind, and I think there was a very realistic chance that Bifrost were actually going to be able to take the series.
And I think one thing that you were talking about is actually quite heavily was actually how game 1 was a really important part of that. It kind of set the tone and gave them hope. And we saw that kind of continue through the next couple of games too. While they did get very, very close, it was still Bifrost showing that they could really throw some heavy punches.
And Bifrost stayed very consistent throughout the entire series as well. There was no big change in how Bifrost were playing. They were playing to their strengths. They were playing to what made them win so many games in the NLC and place first. And we saw that time and time again in this series.
And I think what was really interesting for me is that we started saying, oh, both of these supports are going to be win conditions, crazy playmakers. And actually, for a lot of the games, they weren't actually the biggest ones on the board. Of course, when we come around to this one, though, that's when things started really firing off. Huge amounts of aggressive plays towards that bot side. But actually, it was Shikari and Jaeger determining a lot of the early matches.
Absolutely, and Shikari and Jaeger have both been highlight players for their teams this split. Some of the best top laners in the league going head-to-head in this final series.
There's something we need to discuss, though, about X7 and Bifrost. The idea that they focus so much on the bot side. They remove the champions in the champion select. And do you think this was a reason why X7 took the cities?
I think it's a part of it. We know there were some patch changes coming into playoffs. We know that Odie, again, as we were talking with the all-pro team, Odie statistically and in terms of the eye check, all of the crazy plays he's been making, has been one of our very best AD carries across the entire region. Not having the Jinx and the FLs permanently up and available and such high presence champions, I think it did affect their team and how they wanted to play out the game.
Because on the other side, Nata is comfortable playing with different picks, unusual picks as well, not meta. But do you think, Torok, as a coach, when you look into Bifrost, do you believe that the bot side of Bifrost needs access to those champions? Or you think that slap in the face in the champion select, now adapting them, like they have a week to prepare themselves versus X7 again, do you think they have adapted?
Well, let's put it this way, they've had plenty of time to adapt, right? If Bifrost's worth their salt, they've gone away, they've said, Jinx and Felios might not be on the table, right? Important thing for us, let's make sure we've got replacements. The Senna's already a good one they've had in the past. They've kept that practice. There can be more combos there as well. And there will come a point where, as long as Oddie's performing well, it doesn't matter how many AD carries you ban. They'll all do the same thing. Oddie can perform at the level we all know he can reach, that MVP level, at least Team of the Split level, sorry, and he's going to absolutely, I voted for Oddie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm sure that if he comes away with some better champions or a wider champion pool, he's not as reliant on Jinx Felios, then suddenly banning AD carries, no longer a viable strategy. Bifrost is going to take the series.
So that's why we should look into that draft. Actually, the draft between Bifrost and X7 during semifinals is really important to take a look into. What can you tell me, Nymera?
Well, I mean, first things that we were kind of looking at is, well, for me, of course, we can look at the Senna. That's obviously a big pick. You pointed that out already. For me, actually, the top side became such an important factor too. We saw that Shikari throughout the series when he was given an isolated top lane matchup that wasn't just absolutely dumpstered early. There were a couple of Camille games into the Gnar which kind of got a little bit awkward on that front, right? But when you had that Gnar in a more stable matchup, he performed incredibly well on a 1v1 level, then into the team fights too. So I felt like it was actually a very ensemble performance. I use that term quite a lot, but it isn't just one person you go, this is the reason they won. It's a whole team affair. It's also partly why so many of their members made it onto that all-pro team as well, I'd imagine too, because Bifrost were very consistently high level across their team. But for me, isn't just the bot side affair, particularly stuff like the Gnar was very important too.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, isolated matchups in top lane where Shikari can absolutely shine are really important, but let's not count Jaeger out of those either. It is a skill matchup in top side, and if we move away a bit from obviously how important top side can be, something that wasn't highlighted as much in the original series was mid-jungle, but C-Boy Fury versus Haru Tempt. I mean, Haru Tempt were the #1 mid-jungle duo coming into this split on paper in how they were performing early season.
We saw that Yasuo Diana play.
Exactly. It's really important that C-Boy and Fury, when they have their answers, which they had certainly in some games in the last series when Fury was on the Vega or something like this, come away with a huge W.
Since I have the opportunity before we move on and look into what could happen today, what should we be looking out for, tell me something, because when you're looking into LEC, you know that the blue side is really important.
Pretty strong right now. Yep.
When you look into NLC, it's the opposite. They're looking for the red side, trying to save that top lane as well. What can we expect from that blue side?
How much of this is a regional meta thing?
Not even regional necessarily. It's all about the strategy you come into a playoff match with, right? And sometimes red side can be extremely potent because you can actually limit the other team's options in a way where your counter picks are extremely valuable. Jaeger on a counter pick can be extremely deadly. Tempt on a counter pick can be extremely deadly. And I think it's really valuable for actually X7 especially, who ended up winning that first series, right? To have Jaeger on a really good topside matchup where you can actually take Shikari to town in lane.
So now that we're talking about that, should look into those champions that could appear today. What should we be looking out for today? Nymera.
Well, like we said, it's mainly going to be stuff like the Senna towards the bot side and the Gnar towards the top. I think those are the two which we've really pinpointed there. They have been very impactful in the last series. Question is, though, there has been now some time off. Has this now kind of gone into its own little series scrim bubble, which can now get popped on stage?
Well, they've got to be really careful about not actually falling too far into what happened last week, because both teams are going to come in with a different read. Both are going to have the jokers in the back pocket that have to be used at the right time. right? It's really important if you've got something prepared into the Gnar, into the center, into something like this, which, let's be real, all these champions have counters. You know, you've got to make sure you're ready for it, both as the team ready to pull it off and the team that has to deal with it.
Then it goes to the coach. When do you pull the trigger? Do you pull the trigger instantly to get the other team on the bad position, or do you wait for it? Let's see what happens during those games. But before you jump into that game, I want to know predictions. I want to see them on. There you go. So actually, I was not expecting that when I voted Bifrost. I thought I would be one of the only ones. Wait, really?
That's actually really quite crazy. Now, I myself voted towards X7. This is a whole lot of Bifrost, though. It's almost like a blue...
Okay, when you look
Here
at
we
the
are.
other side.
The yellow wall.
I was going to say, like, we've got a wall of various colors.
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously, Twitter... This is actually pretty close.
Really close.
First time we've actually had a Twitter poll here on the studio, and the first...
That's what I wanted.
You didn't mean to put me in McDonald's that early, okay?
That was a nice burger, man. I'm gonna take you out to dinner today. If you do that with the food that I'm buying you, I'm not paying.
Oh, come on, man. Like, my split ended early. I need a new job. All the way.
Okay, but aside from, Viper winning Trouble Inc. Okay, well, let's start with you, Tarok. 3-1 for X7. Why?
It's really important that X7 get off on the right foot in this series. If they take game one, they get to play the game they want, they keep their style going, and they get the ball rolling, I don't see Bifrost taking any more than one game. Oddie can have his one pop-up performance. Shikari maybe can have one of those games where he's just unmovable in the top lane. But in reality, if X7 play up to their level, X7 manages to get the momentum, I don't see them stopping.
Now, 3-0 for Viper winning Trouble Inc. Can you get behind this?
I think that, again, if it is an X7 Game 1 blowout, I think there is a good chance that X7 can roll over the rest of the series with that, which is kind of the mental advantage, and also showing that, I mean, their style of their drafting has already kind of broken the prep which Bifrost brings to them. So yeah, Game 1, very, very important. If Bifrost take it, I think it's going to be close. I think if X7 take it, might be a bit of a short day.
Then we also have to look into that champion select. We need to see that the bot lane is capable of popping off or not. This is going to be a good series. It's going to be a best of 5. This will decide. It's the grand finals for NLC. Whoever takes this one not only is the king of the north, but also will secure themselves the main stage of EU Masters. And how important is that? I want to talk with you about that and you as well, Tarok.
So in terms of how important it is, well, I mean, in every play-ins at EU Masters, there's one team which kind of has that hyperbolic time chamber, uses that time on stage to improve and really blast into the group stage. But with how many top-tier ERL teams are going to be in the play-in stage as well, it's a very dangerous portion of the tournament to be put into. We don't know what the seeding is going to be like in terms of in that stage, or whether it's just a random draw. You could end up with a kind of a group of death very early into the tournament. So just getting yourself into groups early on, doing away with all that anxiety and stress of that level, I think it is very, very important on that sense, and as a side to just the pride as well of winning the tournament.
Before you talk about that, we're getting really close to the time that we need to see these teams. We need to jump into Champion Select, obviously, but you need to know those teams. If you're here for the first time, I got you covered. Production got you covered as well. You're going to take a look at what happened between these teams. X7, Bifrost, they faced each other a lot of times, but when they faced in playoffs, it was actually X7 taking it away. So take a look at what you can expect today.
From the very beginning, we've known that X7 would be one of the teams to represent us at European Masters. We've known that NLC was theirs for the taking. Jaeger, Haru, Tempt, Nata, Kasing. We've known that nobody could stand in their way.
It's exactly what you wanted to see for X7, and X7 are doing it. That's a massive Infernum ultimate. In comes the binding eclipse from the Gravitum as well. Shutdowns abound, and Haru helps X7 stampede to a 13th win.
However, there was one team that could stand up to X7's titanic onslaught. We also knew that Bifrost were strong before the season started, but we didn't know their true power.
The go button, it's not been always that clean though, and he goes down again. Jaeger's in the backside, so is Tempt. All aboard the Vex Express. Try and heal, but I think Bifrost have done it. They'll just brute force the way forward. Fury gets Nata. They've done it. 2 X7 tears. They've got 3, and this might be it.
And now we get to watch it all again.
Nata and Tempt against the world, but it's Bifrost that will come bringing down the Hammer of the North God.
Welcome to Champion Select. There we go. Bifrost versus X7. That is a good video. That is a hypey video. You guys are really tall, by the way. Okay, let's move on to the Champion Select. What can we expect? There we go, Kai'Sa, and now focus purely on the bot side.
See, the thing which I see from Bifrost immediately here is the Kai'Sa and the Jace. Those are hyper outranged champions. A lot of the time when you're playing towards them, you do want to be picking more of your long-range AD carries, which can get poked out. So you're removing those options on the table with that. With the Zeri and the Aphelios already taken off, that's kind of only leaving you with the Jinx outside of those.
An absolutely huge amount of AD carry bans as well. Jinx, Aphelios, Zeri, Kai'Sa, all taken off the table here.
So that's your last outrange AD carry.
Yeah, following the trade, and then Xayah coming in now as maybe the highest priority AD carry left on patch.
So now the question is, what do you have into that? Actually, Misfortune has been an answer to Xayah. This is a very different set of priorities already than compared to our last best of 5. So while we were talking about, oh, you know, the center might be important, the Gnar might be important, again, scrim bubbles have been happening. We've got ourselves a bit of a scrim meta already, and this series is good. It's going to give us a different look right off the gates.
And this Ezreal pick actually makes a lot of sense from X7. When you lock Xayah first, you're actually really vulnerable to being outranged yourself, right?
Yeah, so Ezreal was actually one of the old school counters.
Exactly, right? Even though you got rid of the Jace, you got rid of the Kai'Sa, you actually made it so Xayah is still vulnerable to being outranged, right? And what you're going to see here from X7 almost certainly is going to be a composition that outranges. Ezreal Karma, I'm predicting, should come in later here, and a composition that does very well versus the dive that Bifrost is going to need to bring in order to penetrate sort of the range advantage that the X7 are planning on bringing.
The difficulty here for X7 is even though they might have, so even though they have the Ezreal, which is okay into the Xayah, especially early game when you can poke them out of lane, once you get to about item and a half, 2 items, Xayah is just going to be an immovable rock in one lane because they have infinite wave clear with the lethality coming in. It's just so hard to stop them from doing that. I mean, we saw X7 use that against Bifrost in Game 5, where they had the Xayah versus the Caitlyn. Caitlyn bullies early. There's a point where the matchup turns around, and you can't really do anything about that. Have they prepared for the other side of that matchup?
So it's not going to be the Karma, it's going to be the Rakan to follow with the Ezreal. I was expecting the Karma to play from front to back. When you have a high engage on the other side, you think Rakan actually fits in this?
Well, there's a benefit of Rakan in this composition, as Viego doesn't have a huge amount of strength in face checking, or strength in getting into the enemy jungle and moving themselves forward. So in taking the Rakan here, you actually have a bit more tankiness, a bit more mobility, where you can walk to the enemy jungle. If someone's there, back out, and it actually helps a bit with the vision game. So maybe that's the thought process there.
And what I really like with these second round bans, because kind of following on from the Karma, right, because Rakan is very good at fighting very early levels, that W a very important engage tool. When you have the Volibear on the other side, if you're into something which is heavy engaged like the Nautilus yourself, even though the Rakan is good fighting early and you want to fight early, you don't want to be fighting into a losing 3v3. So banning away stuff like that Nautilus can be very important. You probably need to get rid of something like the Leona maybe as well. That can be an important pick. But the question is, are they still going to be indexing into winning 3v3 bot side early on? Well, there's Leona gone. What else have you got?
And something that's flown under the radar here is also the fact that Bifrost have got away with this Gnar. We said pivotal pick in the series.
True.
And multiple bans for it. Jace a good ban, Tryndamere a good ban, Akali a good ban. So this Gnar should also be set up for success, and X7 should actually struggle to find a viable counterpick within the entire draft.
Yeah. There are individual lane quest answers. Is it going to fit everything? Now, exactly. Camille or Aurelia are potentially okay because you're still trying to play a little bit of dive with the Rakan going in. Viego can struggle with that, but if you're not the one that's going in first, you've got a bit more flexibility.
And Aurelia really struggles against Volibear, really struggles against Xayah, right? So even though Aurelia is a lane counter, can it win the game, right? These are two very separate questions. Viego is going to have to run away with this game inside lane.
But also, it's a way to protect the Aurelia. You still don't know if it's going to the top, you still don't know if it's going to the mid. That's a way to at least put the question mark on this one. And that's actually a Yuumi. The lockdown potential in a team fight is amazing.
And now this gets even worse for those diving carries of X7, because if you're going with Aurelia or Viego or Rakan, if you're doing that into a Yuumi, it is so difficult to find your mark and get that first kill. Now X7 has to be very precise about how they want to go about that dive, and that would be very fun.
It's not happening.
Don't you be playing shenanigans here, Duel.
Makes sense, makes sense. And Fury back again on the Ahri. I know you love this pick, but he also loves that pick. He's really good with the Ahri. So what can Tim bring? Can he play the Aurelia against the Ahri, or you need something else? Because Vex is still available.
I mean, there are plenty of things which can kind of outrange. I mean, something like a Veigar is okay at zone controlling. Not entirely sure how it fits into the rest of your comp. This again feels like a lot of lane counters for X7. The coherency of the comp overall, with the LeBlanc being locked in actually instead of that Veigar, it definitely helps. You have a lot of mobility that you're looking towards, but still, you're going to have to do a lot of poke damage with the LeBlanc to really make sure that you're very happy for your other divers to hard commit, because not everyone can get out in the same way the LeBlanc can.
So I do prefer the LeBlanc here over the Veigar. I think it does actually give them sort of the poke they need, that ability to play in and out against the Bifrost composition. If they're all committing at once, they will get in trouble. So I think it helps in that regard, but it's a lot of lane counters here for X7. They need to try and run away with it early. If they fall behind, they get behind on Drake game, they get behind on on the team fighting game, it's very hard to come back.
But what helps with that, X7 are very good in lane.
Yeah.
So if there's a team that can do this, X7 probably the one to do it.
Okay, to wrap it up, I need numbers. Who do you think is going to take this first one?
I think this is a Bifrost confident draft. I think Bifrost take game 1.
Okay, what about you?
70-30 Bifrost on draft.
Okay, there we go. 2 for Bifrost to start up this one. And we're about to jump into Summoner's Rift. And before that, for the last time during this split for Grand Finals, let's welcome the Light Show.
Lightning, camera, action. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between, welcome to the NLC Finals cast. I am Initialize. I am joined by Trouble and Goldborg. We are all here and exceptionally excited to be bringing you this game. How are we all doing?
I think we're doing good now.
Yeah, we're doing quite fine here. We're ready for a final like this. The
I was
stakes
that
have been
close
set.
to roasting Toro because he was like, Ace just won by draft. And I'm like, well, your drafts didn't win the game.
That close that she does it anyway. She thought about not doing it and then did it. But well,
I did it anyway.
all right,
did it.
let's bring it in a little bit to the drafts as we have them, because we're having a bit of a discussion here on the desk. And mid-jungle going to be pretty important for both sides, but a bit of a difference in style for both these teams, how they want to play.
Most definitely. I think from the side of X7, the mid-jungle between a Viego and a LeBlanc, it's a very skirmish-heavy one in the early game, and we know champions like LeBlanc, they benefit so hard from a snowballing potential. And I think specifically in the early game where you're going up against the Volibear.
I mean, I love how you bring up going up against the Volibear.
Sure.
Because I do not think Volibear loses to any matchup early on. So I think when you do have the Arya and you do have the Volibear, I think the first one to strike gets a kill on the 2 versus 2. I think the most stylistic difference between the two compositions is the fact that Bifrost really want to be able to team fight. They've got backline access, while they also have a human Azaya who can stay relatively safe and keep the team healthy. Whilst on the other side for X7, yes, you can team fight. Your core 3-man that will stay behind Viego, Rakan, and Ezreal will stay very safe. But you have Aurelia and LeBlanc that can very easily go into side lanes.
Completely agree, and I'm looking forward to see how Duel plays out some of these games, because of course he's got himself some great Yuumi deployment platforms in the Ahri and the Volibear. If you want to find an easy way to get your engagers down, pretty strong options there for Bifrost, but I think we're all in agreement here, we're all aligned saying, look, Tempt, Jaeger, got really good options to play the 1-3-1s with the LeBlanc, with Aurelia in the side lanes. And of course, Shikari did blind pick the Gnar. He did pick that, and Jaeger gets the easy option with the Aurelia side.
Yeah, but that was kind of how it was as well in the semifinals upper bracket when we watched that. Throughout the ban phase, there was Odie who was receiving 380 bans today. Today was no different from that as well. And Shikari is kind of put in a position where we don't usually see him. We started to see him a little bit in the regular season of it, but it was completely weak side with champions like Dion, with champions like the Sion, where he had less agency to really outshine his opponent.
All right, well, here we are then. We've got to see how that plays out, because of course Odie, as you said, did get banned out, but still gets to pick up the Xayah, which I feel has been rising in priority, particularly kind of the lethality options right now, yeah?
I think I also want to echo what Torok said, that it is the last best case scenario ADC that they could have picked up, especially when you're going into backdive axes like the Aurelia and having the LeBlanc and the Rakan together with them. You relatively stay pretty safe. And also this is sort of like a domino effect in the meta as well, right? At the start we had Jinx Aphelios and they were pretty immobile, but they were putting out so much damage. And then teams realized, wait a minute, Hecarim, Volibear, things that can reach the backline can actually disrupt the damage that these immobile carries are putting out. And this is where Xayah and Caitlyn start coming in because they stay relatively safe from distance.
And Ezreal in that kind of vein as well for Nata, and we'll see how that plays out as the game goes on.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Desk was talking about what is 70% over to the side of Bifrost, but I think that's also in the grand scheme of things when you start grouping up around objectives, because when you take a look at how laning phase is going, Yuumi into Rakan, not the easiest way to start getting that priority down towards that bot side. That's going to enable Kasing a lot to roam around the map, especially because he's got that Ezreal. And up towards the top side, you're playing Aurelia into Gnar. Gnar does not dictate the waves either. No. So I will say X7, they get a lot of breathing room to play around with on the first clear.
And as you can see, the top side is being pinged as well. LeBlanc has priority mid, Aurelia has priority top. top. So I'm thinking right here for C-Boy, it might be wise to sort of roam towards the bot side of the map where he actually has his bot lane available, but he might just want to take the 1v1.
Might do. I have no idea who got that one. Does look like Haru with the smite was able to get it. Now Tempt's going to be over as the first rotation. C-Boy in danger, but doing a lot of damage beforehand. Flash out from Haru, but a root comes down, and Tempt, of all people, gets first blood.
And Trouble just called it. You have pushing top lane, you have pushing mid, and then you go for the scuttle. It's legit the classic from solo queue. Where's my laners? Well, I tell you what, they're on the tower, while the rest of X7, they're able to collapse. C-Boy, he went for an early engage. Didn't pay off.
Fury's going to take a lot of damage to try and clean out the wave. That's actually, I've got to keep going on. Here's a flash available. We could keep hunting there for more. It's just a solo kill, and the flash comes out of Fury anyway. That is a disaster.
Okay, so if there's 2 members on the side of X7 that you do not want to be given kills to, that is 100% Haru and Tempt. Tempt gets the solo bolo onto Fury, who has, by the way, been struggling during the regular season. But the most important thing is, I want to remind everyone what Haru did JDXL when he took 1 kill on the Hecarim, and on the Viego, he's a different beast. I agree with what Goldbox said. I think at this point you need to start avoiding the fact that Haru is around and try to play towards the other side of the map.
He's got Sork Boots, Dark Seal in inventory already. It's not even 5 minutes. That is not a good sign right now.
Potential dive on the top side. While
you think about it, go forwards, teleport's coming down. It's a fantastic flawless duet. And now the passive stacked up. Shikari will have the Mega Gnar available. Has to flash out from the chains. C-Boy and Shikari down their summoners.
Okay, that is absolute disaster, honestly. Shikari blows his flash right there. Yes, you take the teleport out of LeBlanc, but LeBlanc is not going to get too much. He has double buffs, he's roaming down mid. And also, if you look at Haru, he's waiting on the side to try and gank up onto Fury. Fury has no flash.
Watch for the ethereal chains. The charm does land though. That makes Haru's life a bit difficult. Fury seconds so low, so quickly though. He's dead, and the body is stolen. And that means the W movement speed can start coming through. Foxfires abound. Haru gets it 3-0-1.
Disaster early game from Bifrost in the first game of the series. In X7, we talked about it. They had tools in the early game to take over the map. But to this extent, this is also Bifrost handshaking some of the engages, which is allowing X7 to get a lead. And not only that, they're taking care of the Drakes now. Kasing earlier with the priority took presence of the bot side jungle as well. So C-Boy, he's going to continuously get tracked on his next clear, which is going to give even more for the rest of X7 to play around with. Haru
Ooh, gets away with it. Now he's got to find his way out though, because OD can start jumping forward. A flash, an ignite, and a dead jungler. Something back for Bifrost finally.
Honestly, at this point, you need it. And if it goes to anyone from the side of Bifrost, Oddie has been that rock on the bot side of the map. Arguably, probably the best bot lane that we have in the NLC is Oddie and Duel, so you definitely want these kills early on your Xayah. But looking at the other side of the map, it's really struggling. You definitely don't want to be giving kills towards Haru and Tempt, and they're actually ganging up onto Fury, who, again, I'm going to reiterate, he hasn't had the best early games in the league this season.
Yeah, Fury needs to stabilize for sure. He's playing a mobile champion like the Arian, specifically because you have this Xayah that you are playing for, all-pro, if you want to say MVP, AD carry bot lane, MVP support with Jewel to play for as well on Bifrost. That is, of course, a Xayah that's great peel into the Aurelia. It's great peel into self-ultimate, into the LeBlanc as well. So you do have tools for a carry potentially to play for in the objectives, but you need to get to that point more stable.
Okay, I want to look a little bit at the level that Haru is on right now, because I'm pretty sure he's going to be hitting level 6 very soon, and he's pinging the red buff. You see how Rakan is already shadowing, and you do have Tempt, who has absolutely massive pressure in the mid lane. You can take this LeBlanc Viego, you reiterated at the start of the game, Gulbok. You can take this duo everywhere in the jungle, and right now they're making C-Boy's life a mess. C-Boy is 7 CS behind, but that's not even the worst part of it. The entire jungle from the side of Haru is still up if he wants to take it.
Oh, Fury's just dead, isn't he? The chains are going to come down. Flash for the grand entrance is not quite enough, but the Ignite will claim it. Kasing is there to assist.
And X7 teamwork, it's just on point on the top line. They're continuing.
Still going in. He landed the Vanguard edge, but this is a 1v2. Are you sure? Yeah, he might have it. He's not got enough mana, though. Where is the rest of the team for X7? They just don't need it. He goes in for the 1v2 and walks his way out as Odie is in trouble on the bot side. He's got himself a bit of a heal. Haru can't quite secure it with the Heartbreaker, but a Blade of the Ruined King will do enough work. Now Duel is left alone for a true shot barrage. 7-1 in kills early on. This was supposed to be a close series. This ain't a close game.
It definitely is not. X7, they're taking over the entirety of the map, and Bifrost, even in the 1v2 scenario, doesn't get the kill. Let's have a look at it once again, because it's just Haru coming in. And Odie, no cleanse, remember, opted in for an exhaust. Yumi's the one with the heal, and despite all those defensive summoner spells, it's just not enough. Nata, he's stacking up. True shot barrage. That's a dead cat.
I just think that Haru plays so well with his second timers. He knows he's level 6. He knows that Odie's just about to hit it, and he just ganks bot lane pre-level 6. Means Xayah doesn't have an ultimate, means a dead Xayah. You burn every single summoner on the side of Bifrost for the bot lane as well. I think Haru is legitimately taking over the entire game, and honestly, I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, but look at this now. They're making plays as well with Kasing. They know the blue buff is up. They know they have something to play for on the top side. Bifrost, however, on the other side of the map,
the only one who hasn't died yet.
To cross map now, see if they can get Nata on this Ezreal if they sniff out the play. So there's two sides of the map that we need to pay attention to now.
Like puts the walls down, will spot out C-Boy, but does he have a way out? Arcane shift over the wall of a blast cone as well, and of course the speed shrine's available. He's just playing around this blast cone at this point. Doesn't even take it. Well played, Nata. Smart ward, and even 10 seconds later, that probably would have been too late. Kasing is back, so it'll be a plate or two lost here as an option, but it'll be fine from there.
Right, so they still want that dive down the bot lane, but Nata does have flash and cleanse available. They do have the Yumi ultimate here, but
a lot of damage coming down, and Kasing will die for that. Got a little bit too overeager with the positioning, couldn't battle dance his way to safety. C-Boy picks up a kill, and that helps get even more plates onto this bot side. Good stabilizing options here.
Yeah, I don't know about stabilizing, because Haru's level 7. He took the Rift Herald, he took the Dragon.
Yes.
He is about, what, 20-something CS ahead. He's taking his entire jungle. He's going to take C-Boy's jungle. They're going to dive Shikari as well. He's been in R.
Mid lane's nearly dead as well. They're going to see Shikari taken down to no HP. He's dead. Jaeger gets that one, his first kill of the day. And on the all the while in the mid lane, Fury was inches away from dying, but Tempt's clone tanked up the last tower shot. And will stop him from going down there. Is C-Boy now in trouble?
Shikari missed the jump on that top side on the minions. Didn't get to create that space. Mininar hat just got activated as well, so he got what's quote-unquote called tired. Couldn't get into that Mecha Bar. And just like that, incredibly vulnerable to a gank. So we have a look at it once again. It's just so cookie cutter clean, because, you know, be it Bifrost, they spot C-Boy down there instead, Haru, Jaeger, they know they can go for it immediately, and there's the jump. Oh, just straight onto the Vanguard search there.
I'm just gonna be honest, I don't think this jump would have saved you, Go-Bok.
You know, I gotta give it my opposite.
You know, I'll allow you to have your hopes, guys, because I feel like Haru is on fire right now. He's 2 levels up on C-Boy. C-Boy just hit level 7, and I think they're exploiting the fact that X7 used their vision early on into the game. They used that Viego to perfection to shut down C-Boy. This is exactly what we were looking for in the previous series that Bifrost played, and when C-Boy gets shut down, it feels like Bifrost sort of runs on no cylinders.
You're completely right, and it's because X7 has completely created their own tempo on the map. Every time, I mean, they play with 3 winning lanes, which should allow you to do this, but so often do we see teams not do it. They invade on red buff. Then as soon as blue buff is the one that's up, well, they move their plays up towards the top side of the map. They have an Ezreal to play for as well. They're there for the Drake timer every time. They got the Rift Herald so far as well, and now onto Fury. They're looking for a dive.
The real change to go wide, but the Electrocute proc takes Fury down to about 2/3 HP, but he will heal back up with some corrupting charges. They'll back away for now.
Haru is so good with timers. Look at the seconds remaining on Fury's ultimate. He knows he's playing within seconds of something happening. He is just so good at reading the map, at reading situations. This guy's in another level.
He really is, and we've been praising him whole split long. Even in the last series, when some of the games didn't go so well for X7, you saw what his Viego could get done, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see Bifrost go for another one of these bot lane plays. Nata trying to clear out the way, but C-Boy's around, and I don't know whether he's got many options. There's no flash. There's not a lot of hope. There's a teleport coming through the cleanse. The arcade shifts a good quickness. The turnaround's not quite enough, but now C-Boy gets caught into the Vanguard's edge, but will use the ultimate to try and escape best he can. Jaeger cleans up the cat. He cleans up another. Mid lane, this play is going down as well, and X7 find them all. It's Shikari alone alive.
It is absolute disaster all over the map of Bifrost. They're losing everything. They're losing mid lane tower. They're losing bot lane as well. Like, it is... I cannot. I mean, I can understand why you're trying to play towards your strong side, which is your bot lane at the moment, but I feel like Bifrost, you don't have the right to call anything strong side anymore.
Look at that score at the top of your screen. It is 15 kills at the minute. We're not even at that many minutes in the game, and this dive goes horribly wrong, Goldball.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do about it. All Shikari is doing on the top side is just auto-attacking Jaeger. He's TPing in the middle of the lane, and he's just going to go on the cat, get the reset on the Q immediately, and the entire map is just burning.
I just want to point out here, because I saw it on the minimap, Tempt DP'd in Fury's face.
No.
But Haru was keeping Fury busy, so he
Odie got caught. Odie got caught. He's done.
God. And that was the champion right there. You wanted to stabilize into Aurelia to make sure stuff like this didn't happen because she had the self-peel of an ultimate. But all of a sudden, Odie, he's out in the middle of bot lane. Jaeger's just running him down, no ultimate.
And this was the team we had expected to see in the finals. This was the team that was supposed to have taken time coming into playoffs to prove that they could crush not only the NLC, but look at EU Masters and go, the rest of you need to be afraid. Yes, it's only one game. Yes, we're only 13 minutes in, but this is the kind of
you're allowed to say it.
Absolutely, but this is the kind of devastation that we knew X7 had in them, even if it wasn't always the case. Thus far, thus damn good.
And I'll raise you the question. Was Shikari the wrong MVP for that top lane vote? Because every time we've seen Jaeger versus Shikari, it's actually been Jaeger having the upper end of that matchup. Jaeger, though, his weakness has been getting caught on side lane, but so far we just haven't seen that. And all of X7, I mean, they're just playing to almost perfection.
Okay, I will say Shikari is probably the most stable top laner we probably have in the NLC, because whilst his entire map is falling to pieces, he's only died once because he's respected the fact that he's weak side. He smelled a lot of the ganks coming his way, and he's managed to sort of stay relevant CS-wise as much as he can. So when it comes to tendencies and he being consistent, I think Shikari is one of the most consistent members, at least for Bifrost.
We're not even 15 minutes into the game, and it's near enough an 8,000 gold lead to X7. Goldborg, you've got something for me.
Yeah, definitely, because, you know, once again, they're just playing... Odie might just be dead here.
You can chat through this, because I don't think it's too much... Wait, what? Okay, Tempt! I was thinking that was a dead Xayah. She's not. She gets the kill. Now Haru's in danger as well. He's got a Heartbreaker, gets over the wall. Kasing will get a quickness to try and escape with the rest of the members, but that is an overstep, and that's a shutdown going towards Odie, which they will take gratefully.
Continued the chase just a little bit, but in the end, they will be backing off. I was just about to say, you know, Blue Buff and Bifrost was about to respawn. You can see X7. They wanted to go for it, but then they saw one member in the mid lane, and they overcommitted Odie back into the game. Remember, the first time these teams played against each other, the way Bifrost was winning was never through the early game. It was always through the team fighting later on into the game.
But the thing is, have they had to team fight from this much of a deficit before? Yes, they were down sometimes 3,000 to 4,000, 8,000 plus at this point in the game is quite a lot. Top lane tower is being sieged though.
I don't think this was a bad play because Tempt overextends and the money ends up going to Odie. And if you look on the other side, very nice flash from Shikari right there. Bot lane tower didn't end up going down for Bifrost, and also they're trying to take top lane for the bounties, but I think Fury got caught.
Shikari's actually going to take a lot of damage here. Odie will be around, will get a root. This is the exhaust as well, trying to buy enough space, and Jaeger can't get in range for the blade touch, but Seaboy rooted the top side by the ethereal chains. Tempt looking to step forwards, but it will be a spectral maw that cleans up the volley bear, and all the while, Jaeger extricates himself from the bot side jungle in a 1v2 again.
Somehow gets out of that situation. In X7, they're striking on the top side. Here's that blue buff I mentioned just a little bit ago. In the end, it still goes over to X7. In the end, X7 will still pick up the Rift Herald. Cross map can potentially be the Soul Point Drake. You can see Odie and Joel, they are making their way down towards that ocean.
10,000 goal difference. 16
it's so
minutes into the game. It's insane. I know that the items do not tell that story because I feel like X7 have been staying on the map for way too long, just because they can. If you always have the numbers advantage, you stay on the map. And right here, they feel like they can contest this.
No, that's not fair. Nata, you cannot do that. I am so angry for Bifrost right now because this is not looking so much like a Bifrost as by global warming. They're all melting apart.
That was supposed to be the cross map, but X7, they're able to get the Rift Herald. They're able to steal the Drake, and all of a sudden, again, they're still getting away with everything. It's not a perfect game, but by objective calculation, everything has gone over to the side of Bifrost. No tower has fallen, no Drakes, and no Rift Herald has been given to Bifrost.
All right, viewer discretion advised. Production, can we see the individual gold, please? Oh, Lord.
4,000 almost in the top lane.
In the jungle. In the mid. Only the bot is even.
Guys, let's focus on the positive. At least the AD carry is ahead by 100 gold. I feel like that is something to look out for. You know, maybe
he's only Danish by any chance?
No, he's not.
Okay. I'm about to say, I was wondering.
Danish, the guy that's 4K down to the Korean.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Not
well,
about that
unlucky.
one.
That's unlucky.
And even Nata's actually down in gold, so all the Danes are actually behind them this time.
I'm all for silver linings, but that's more like you've said it's look, it's a silver lining that's actually made of like iron and it's all rusting and it's awful.
I don't blame Bifrost for trying to go
No,
for this place,
absolutely.
overextending top lane. The bounties are up. Like, the only thing you're looking for right now is to try and get shut down. 650 gold onto Aurelia. You have 200 gold onto the Viego as well. And by the time that we're trying to make the place, they all had a mythic item and a couple of components for the set of X7, and Bifrost had a complete mythic item. So this is the chance and your time to try and fight before the second item completion comes through for X7. They tried to get the bounties. It didn't work. They
Yeah.
sit on a ward as well. X7 is a cosplaying fanatic.
Unfortunately for Bifrost, they certainly are. Now, I think at this point, some of the things that were brought up on desk about the draft still hold true. If you can get to 2 items yourself, even 3 items, and maybe pick someone off a little like that, but a bit more successfully, you still have got a Yuumi comp with a lot of good team fighting to work through, but I just don't know if they can hold on long enough. Look at the map.
You're so far away from that, though, because in the 1-3-1 composition, you are just bleeding. No one can deal with the
You're only
LeBlanc. No
11K
one can
far
be with
away.
Jaeger. That's the thing, right?
No one can deal with Aurelia. It's
We're
just-
not talking in the next 5 minutes, those 2 items is going to save you, because when you finally hit those 2 items, well, chances are X7, they're going to be hitting their 3rd. So even when you're at your best, I mean, X7's the dude you don't have to worry about.
You've got 230 till an Ocean Drake. That will be Ocean Soul, and what on earth do they do?
And also there's like, there's the side effects where you need anti-heal so badly on the side of Bifrost, but right now you just cannot afford to waste your money for anti-heal. But if you don't, who kills Aurelia? Who kills Viego? Who kills anyone who gets healed by the Rakan? It's just such a difficult situation. It's like when you need the QSS, but you know you cannot afford to not buy another damaged item just in case you get a shutdown and might come back into the game.
Seeing as pop the quickness, there's a grand entrance, and it will be a swift exit for Fury. The Fox is got no way out. 15 kills to 4, 19 minutes into the game. Ocean Soul will be available in just under 2 minutes. Go for it, Goldborg. What have you got for me?
Yeah, but at least you're getting a bot side turret here. Objective bounties will come in just a little bit. Drake will spawn in 1 minute and 40 seconds. And this sounds like real hard copium, but if you can at least regain some bot side control, at least you can allow yourself to have some vision towards the bot side, walk into the river, try to put some extra percentages into that potential fight we will have around the Drake.
Take that one.
You know what,
take that
Goldborg?
two.
I really appreciate you.
You know I have to.
You know, with 11 KB, I really appreciate your effort, man.
I'm the devil's advocate.
Okay, he's the angel on the shoulder.
For me, I'm
Trouble
like,
is my
okay,
devil.
this is where you sit back on your chair and you're like, okay, boys, what's the draft for the next one? What side we taking? Because it's fine, we lost this one really bad. We know what the mistakes are.
I watched like this until I watched LCK, and I watched a Gen G game.
I saw that
Excuse me,
game.
did you watch the
That was a
Misfits
little
game?
bit of a jungle difference as
Did you
well.
watch the Misfits game?
I did.
In the LEC?
I did.
Then,
Okay.
What was that, 14K behind?
What this brings down to me, though, is that there have been moments, rare though they are, of people coming back. It's just incredibly difficult. And unfortunately for Bifrost, their last gasp is likely coming up in about 40 seconds. Check the top left corner of your screen. That Ocean Drake spawns remarkably soon. The Baron is alive, and when you've got an Aurelia or 2 items, it will get shredded through pretty quickly. So things are difficult. They're about to end up being dire.
Yeah, but it looks like Bifrost, they may actually want to just give up that contest, see if they can get just 1 kill a shutdown. You know, that's what they're chasing for right now. 700 shutdown. On Jaeger if they can
Oh
get
my
this.
god, Fury's taken so low. Defiant Dancer, there is the flawless duet that's teleporting him, but he's down to the Vanguard's edge. Boy's gone. He gets 2. That's a 1v3. Shikari's now in trouble. In comes Yuumi to try and root him in place, but Kissing is here. The quickness is there, and Shikari surely goes down. Nata's turned up as well. Finally, 1,000 gold. Shutdown comes out. Nata, been flashed on, goes down. Odie gets that one, and Bifrost turned it around to make it at least an even kill trade.
Okay, right here though, you trade, you give 2 kills to your Aurelia, your Ezreal dies, but what do you get? You get mid lane inhibitor tower from Tempt, and you get Ocean Soul. Remember that healing that I said was coming from the items from Aurelia, and her passive of course, and Viego and Rakan? Well, times that 10 right now, because they do have Ocean Soul. The anti-healing items are gonna have to be running in, and you're gonna be lacking significantly in damage and items.
Shikari might just be dead here, but I will say for Bifrost, that was possibly the best outcome they could have gotten. They would have probably lost that Drake fight anyway. At least now they got the 700 shutdown. At least now they picked up some resources. Another turret as well. Shikari, what will you do about this
He's on a
situation?
trip.
We are here to celebrate the life and death
Of a
of
Yordle?
one top laner from Bifrost. Alas, poor Shikari, we knew thee well. Only his 2nd death of the game, but X7 have had free reign over this map, it feels like, from that early scuttle grab scuffle, and ever since then they have refused to let go of control.
I would love to go back to when we started talking about the mid-jungle duos, but I'll stop right here because I think Bifrost is just running for the hills.
They're trying to come in and contest this Baron. They've lost so much control of the vision. LeBlanc's gotten so far ahead that you don't need a team fight, but you can just pop someone. They'll try and come in and contest, though. Fury has popped the Spirit Rush. Seaboy has got the ultimate. Maybe, just maybe, there's a steal available.
Here it comes.
Right, he's going to get in. He's going to make it a bit difficult, but he flashes a charm, but not for long enough, and Jaeger just deletes him. Blade surges his way forward, and Chains will force a flash, even though the charm from Ari lands, and now the Baron's in. I think it's just a death march.
Yeah, but they're just playing it so well on X7. You can see how patient they are. They don't want to burn down the Baron immediately. They're actually just waiting for Seaboy when he, out of desperation, finally flashes in. It's only a 2K, and look at it here. They're not hitting it. They're just waiting. Seaboy flashes in. As soon as Seaboy deads, great. That's when we start picking up the Baron, and now the leftover remains of Bifrost can be picked up.
I mean, with Volibear, you have to be that close to the pit, right? To try and get in and contest and try to steal the Baron. So you're either gonna die to their damage, or you're gonna have to dive in and try to do the damage yourself onto Baron to try and smite steal that. And yes, that was a Hail Mary, but there's nothing else that you can do if you're Bifrost right now. I think at the end of the day, this game is as good as done. And the only good thing that I can think about for Bifrost is that it was just a messy game to begin with. It wasn't a very close game where they're like, ah, damn it, we just lost it in the details. They can go back, see what's wrong, and go again.
See if they can pick up any shutdowns here. They have not been spotted out yet by
There's no shadow on LeBlanc.
Well, they're spotted on the ward now, looking for Tempt.
Where it is, will have the ultimate available. Teleport start coming through, stunned in place. Tempt taken solo, does not have a stopwatch. Shut down, goes the way of Seaboy, but in comes the Vanguard. Edge of the big Meganar into the wall though. Jaeger starting to run rampant at the back end of it, and Data and Kasing are here to jump through those that remain. You get the LeBlanc, but the Deceiver always has the last laugh. The thorns are pruned, but the Black Room blooms regardless.
And with 4 Baroned up members from the side of X7, I am expecting this to be called a GG. Well played right here.
It's done. There's no way out. And X7, we thought it was supposed to be a close series. They come into this first game of the best-in-5 and stamp their authority down. Bifrost, the move is on yours, because otherwise this series is looking all but done.
And unfortunately, Odie, he's just not able to step up to the cause. 1 versus 4, it's not enough. Seaboy has spawned. 1 second on Shikari, 2 seconds on Fury. Let's have a look at this.
It's going to be a last gasp, but they're going to try. The Nexus exposed, but X7 ain't playing around today. They are here to make a statement, and game 1 will certainly be that. 25 minutes in, 15,000 gold. What a game that one was.
And again, we mentioned it from draft. The mid-jungle duo for both of these teams. The Volibear Ari, the LeBlanc Viego. We said whoever strikes first wins the 2 versus 2. And unfortunately for Bifrost, Howard striked first, but not only once.
No, but also just feels like this team needs something to play for in the early game, just because you had nothing to do with the Volibear either. There was no really winning lane to go in for here. LeBlanc, way more mobility into the Ari. You had a Yumi lane down towards the bot side. Shikari pushed in by the Aurelia. It was just really difficult for them to navigate, and just Seaboy just got invaded on numerous times with X7 just driving the tempo forward.
When your Aurelia is winning 1v3s, when your solo laner is getting solo kills, when your jungler gets that far ahead that early, who cares if you've drafted for team fights when your lanes are all done that early? X7 dominate game 1, but we've still got more of a series to come, so we're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, the analyst desk will be there to answer all your questions.
Win lane, win game.
Welcome back to the grand finals of Spring Split of NLC. We were talking about Bifrost, we were building up the momentum, and what happened?
X7 happened. That was one thing. Also, there was a bit of an unfortunate happening in the early game.
Okay.
Probably set the scene for a lot of things. However, when we said coming out of draft, X7 have to get early leads. They have to make sure that these counter picks in lane do well and they roll through the game. Didn't expect it to go that well.
Not at all. I mean, the way this game played out is exactly what X7 wanted to happen in this game. I think it has to be emphasized they played really, really well with the lead they had, and they absolutely blew out the game from that point. So at least when it came to the way their draft wants to win, they followed through completely.
We're approaching the subject, so let's dive into the subject, that specific moment, because that was a macro moment in the map. X7 replied really fast. They took over the game because of that. On the other side, Bifrost were not keen to what happened. So run me through that moment, because everybody needs to listen to that.
I mean, it's really important that when you're playing this game as Bifrost, you have two central axioms to your composition, right? When you've drafted a Yuumi into a free scaling matchup, yes, your Yuumi's free scaling, yes, she's going to potentially win you the game, but it still means you don't have a support near mid lane for the first 10-15 minutes of the game, right? And as the game sort of progressed, and as we saw it happen in River, as we saw it happen on bot side here as well, right? It was really important that everything that Bifrost wanted to do broke down. Yuumi was stuck in bot lane. They couldn't help out mid, who was already struggling based on the play that happened earlier in the River, where C-Boy walked in and died to the LeBlanc, made that early lead for Tempt. And when your jungler falls behind in a Yuumi composition, you now don't have any pressure around your feeble solo lanes for the next 10-15 minutes of the game.
But on the other side of that, someone has to really be digging in the knife as well on the side of X7. That was Haru. You know, we keep talking about this player who continually ups the ante of what it means to be a top-tier ERL jungler. Now, of course, we know he's played at a high level before, but he's here in our scene, and he is absolutely cracking heads because he gets that individual lead, yes, with some help with his solo laners very early on, but he pays back the favor. It felt like the game was so unplayable for Bifrost once that Viego started getting rolling.
And yes, you have a Viego, you're versus a Volibear. When we talked about this often, a lot of times, you don't win the 1v1 in the beginning of the game. Volibear will demolish you. And he was the one saying, okay, I can fight this Volibear. I don't care because I'm not alone. The team will reply to my call. And there we go, synergy again from X7. And the idea of, okay, we play as a team. We can do this. We've often seen Bifrost losing the beginning of the game, like losing the early game and coming back. But with these champions, was there a way to come back into X7 or X7 way too fast?
There were some ways. I mean, if you... But a lot of it...
Dark Seal Magi's, it's your thing.
No, there is something to be said about, like, you build some Dark Seals and you just hope for the best and you hope you stack them. That is genuinely a way to come back in some games. But they still have to make mistakes for that to happen.
X7 didn't make
and they didn't make enough. They made one or two, which you see 1,000 gold shutdown going over. That's definitely a very important amount of gold to give over to someone like Azire if you end up getting it at that point. But you need to make a series of mistakes at the right place at the right time for Bifrost to walk away happy with that. They fell so far down into the pit in terms of a gold disadvantage, it was never realistic to expect it.
And just to add on to that, it's really important when a Yuumi is in the game, one team's playing aggressive, the other team's playing defensive. It's thematic, it's always that way. Yuumi changes the dynamic of the game in such a way that that is how the game must play out. And unfortunately, when you're the team losing that early topside skirmish, your jungler getting taken out of the game, your mid being completely opened up to Tempt being able to do whatever he likes, well, suddenly being the Yuumi team, it's not easy to play defensive anymore.
Yeah, and a good way to look into this is the idea that X7, Bifrost didn't make that mistake. X7 just knew how to prey on the prey. Like they were the hunter, like, okay, I know you're going to make this, so I'm going to take advantage of that. And after they took that early game, they completely took over the entire game. And this is a message for the rest of the best of 5, or?
So I don't know. So this is the kind of game where you once C-Boy dies in River, very early game. He's probably communicating to the rest of the team, and the rest of the team kind of know in the back of their heads, all right, this one's going to be a difficult one. Probably have to write this one off. Now, I don't know if getting slammed like that is going to really hurt Bifrost in terms of just the mental fortitude, right? Yeah. Because in a best of 5, there's a lot of gamesmanship involved in terms of, you know, how are you all feeling? How do you reset after this? Because game 2, if they come back and actually they've been enthused by this, say, right, we're going to go get them back next time, maybe they come out swinging in this next game, and that's what we have to see now. There's kind of non-negotiable at this point, because you lost that first game so heavily, you have to show something to take through the rest of that series. The ante has been put on you now. Or the onus, rather.
So for you, as a coach, when you're faced with this situation versus X7, which side would you pick? Would you go for the blue, for the red side?
If I'm X7,
yeah,
I'm running red side again. 100%.
It's Bifrost deciding the side.
Yeah, so that's the issue, right? It's not
Okay.
X7's choice. But if I'm X7, I'm running red side again. So if I'm Bifrost, I'm saying, okay, let's swap it up. I'm going to take red side off X7. They showed clearly the way they want to win the game versus us is to really go for these lane-oriented counter picks, right? We've taken the Aurelia into the Gnar, we've taken the LeBlanc into the Ahri, and we've decided we're going to absolutely blow up your top side. And so it's really important for me as Bifrost that I have Shikari in that stable matchup, that actually Fury's in a good place to be able to play out the game the way he wants to. And so red side really will help you out on that front.
Okay, and taking that into account, I'd like to tell you that Bifrost took the red side
very much.
for game 2. There we go. He knows what he's talking about, and that's why we're going to toss it to a break before we jump back into Champion Select of the second game for the grand finals of the Northern League of Legends Championship. Whoever takes this one not only is the king of the North, but also takes main stage at the EU Masters. I'll see you soon. And welcome back to the second Champion Select of the day. As you can see, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, so we already have 2 picks on each side in 3 bands. So let's look into this, dive into this, and then we can move on with Champion Select.
Right.
A lot to take in. Let's go.
So one of the big things, one of the big features from the first game was 3 red side AD carry bans. Obviously, that's not happened. We've had Jinx left available, said that the center was going to be important, so they've come in the first round from both teams. Junglers being, well, actually, no, that's actually technically not locked in from the Viego. It's still technically on the picking thing, but we're in this weird limbo of time. So yeah, Senna Volibear first rotation from Bifrost gives you a lot of ability to play around early. Post level 6, tower dives actually become really threatening across the map too.
100%. I think Senna Volibear as a combination coming into this Jinx is already a really good start, right? Volibear into Jinx, her trap's absolutely useless, right? When she's being dove onto, she's gonna have a really hard time playing the game. And if they find the right Senna pairing, this is really important, if they find the right Senna pairing, they can make Jinx's life hell, not only just in the early game, but across the entire game as well.
So this is the information we have right now. Let's move on with the champion select to see if Haru is going to pick yet again that Viego, or if he's going for something different. This is something that has been appearing lately, the Nidalee. Actually, people are picking more Nidalee, so let's see if Riddle will find his happy place. She has been buffed in the future, but yeah, let's not look into that.
Not today.
This could be the Xin Zhao, the Jinx again.
And I'm kind of interested in the Xin Zhao pick here because Xin Zhao is not awesome into Volibear because Xin Zhao doesn't stop what Volibear wants to do, and also Volibear gets to dive in and do all of his damage within your ultimate as well. So you're kind of nullified a little bit in terms of strength in the early game and later into the game. It's not like you have these really strong advantages later into the game where you can have that over some other junglers. So I'm a bit interested in opting into that matchup, but it's still, maybe they just thought, look, we need some early game options. This is what we got on the table right now.
This is something like Haru usually says, like, I don't care what the enemy jungler picks. I have the pressure, I have the macro, I know how to apply the pressure in the wound. Let's take this early game.
So this is actually a really traditional X7 draft. Hyper carry plus Lulu plus early game AD carry jungle, essentially. So I think they've gone for a rotation they feel safe with, a rotation they feel comfortable with. On the flip side, Bifrost have actually brought the Seraphine back out again. We saw this in the first series.
Yes, we did.
But this could also be a Seraphine bot lane, right? I would expect, actually, that in this situation, you've got the Senna, use the Seraphine as a flex, get then a pick for Shikari or another flex in there to really make it difficult for blue side to find counter picks. And you do have the ability to contest in team fight with the Seraphine, but it's not necessarily easy.
So the things which I like about the Seraphine are that it can help with a diving comp where you have both ultimates of the Senna and the Seraphine flying through the team fight if you want to play aggressively. That's something that we saw around Spring 21 where we saw a lot of Hecarim with the Seraphine. That was when Seraphine was more viable as a mid laner. That was before a lot of her wave clear was nerfed. That was a big reason why she's been removed from this point. And one of the big things we saw from the last matchup in the best of 5 when this was picked was, and why the Seraphine didn't work was Seraphine got pushed in early, but I think it was by a Vex, who then roamed down early, slaughtered bot side. Couldn't do anything about it. Seraphine wasn't there and able to do anything. So if they're going to go put this back into the mid lane, they need to be very sure about the matchup they want there. And if you're picking, if you want to pick something which removes that flexibility, then it leaves it in a bit of danger.
Yeah, this fits, right? Because now they've got the Akali, and other flexes, potentially come in. There is no counter pick here that X7 can find that's going to be extremely useful into any specific champion, right? That's what Bifrost are trying to do here. They're trying to protect all of their laners by flexing things as aggressively as possible. The flip side to that is how cohesive is your composition, because Senna plus a lot of dive into Jinx, Xin Zhao, potentially Vex that's been locked in now, and Lulu. I think X7 have a lot of ways to deal with what Bifrost are trying to do here.
So obviously we were mentioning how the Seraphine got outroamed by the Vex in the first best of 5. Well, that's been locked in again. So if you want to put that Seraphine mid, you know what's on the table in terms of actual recent game footage where it really got slapped for you. So question is now, do you feel forced to put that into the bot side? Is this going to be the Senna Seraphine bot side against the Jinx Lulu, which arguably outscales you, actually, in a lot of teamfight situations? Where is your actual big value coming out of this draft? What value have you actually gotten out of this flex? It feels to me that you're still in a little bit of limbo.
And actually, X7 with the Renekton as well, and the Vex, Akali doesn't have a solo lane she really wants to go into. I think I'd put her into the Vex if I had to bite the bullet, let's say, and put her somewhere. But then what counter pick am I getting into the Renekton that's actually going to extract value? It's very, very difficult now. Okay, here's
That's nice. I like that. So the thing with that now is that whenever you get the heals and shields onto Lucian, you get a whole lot of your passives on the current patch. The scaling on his passive extra damage has gone up too. So if you get those buffs, you get a whole lot of damage to go with it. If you have this double kind of pseudo enchanter bot lane buffing up the Lucian, you start running forward with that. Someone gets caught out from X7, they pop.
My concern though, Bifrost have drafted very much focused on we're playing against X7, not focused on Bifrost strengths. None of this here, Shikari on Akali, Fury on a lane dominant champion, though his Lucian is good, is not how Bifrost have been playing, right? And this is very much a tonal shift from what Bifrost have been trying to do in the past to maybe try and counteract X7, and that could be a big concern for them if they're not able to execute.
I have to ask you guys again, numbers.
Well, depends on whether they're going to go make some interesting jungle decisions again. I like what Bifrost have got in terms of an individual 5-man unit. I think it's new. I think it's intriguing. I don't know if it's going to be that effective. I think X7 got the edge in draft this time.
You got to tell me.
I'm going to give it over to X7. Let's call it, in terms of draft, 60-40 X7. But it's a lot
X7
of
this time. What about you, Tarek?
X7 all the way.
Okay, let's see if they got this one correct.
Hearing that from the JDX
Bifrost are switching their gameplay style to face off versus X7. Is this the miracle, or is this going to be another one for X7? Without further ado, I'll toss it to the tree cast. It is once again Initialized Treble in Goldberg.
Photosynthesizing the tree cast is here. Indeed, we are around.
A tree?
I am now, apparently. But never mind that. We've got ourselves a little
You guys are so rude.
Yes, I am, but that's kind of part of the fun of working with me, I guess. Underline fun and put it in
You guys
quotation
actually
marks.
make me look tall. Nice. I just saw it on the screen.
Fine, that's true. Well done, guys. Thank you.
Those are your heels before you start.
I don't have heels on right now.
That's very reasonable. You would be here for a long time in those heels. But to bring it back a little bit, after that game 1 slaughter from X7, they are 2 games closer, or 1 game closer rather, to getting themselves to that group stage of EU Masters, becoming the NLC champions here in spring. I need to see Bifrost recover here, or things are going to start getting dicey. Trouble, your thoughts on the X7 draft first, though?
Yeah, I just find it really interesting how Arsharam also mentioned how Bifrost want to play a different game. I feel like X7 brought a completely different game as well. They went for the 1-3-1 in the previous one. They went for the mid-jungle duo synergy. They went to play aggressive. Right now, you don't really get too much about a certain dominance in the early game. You know what they say? If you, on paper, are the better team at team fighting, you can very easily pick a scaling team that wants to team fight, and you just go late game and outplay your opponents. And right here, you've got all the tools to do that. You've got so much peeling and shielding around your Jinx, and you also have a Renekton that can just dive the backline. I think this is the perfect front to back for X7.
And we've kind of held him off from it for a little bit, but we will let Gullball go wild on the Bifrost draft because it's a duo in the bot lane he's been wanting to talk about for a long time.
Listen, as soon as Senna came back into meta, I saw teams pairing it up with Tam Kencham, and I was like, what are you doing? He doesn't gobble up anymore pre-6. He doesn't really offer that safe facilitation that we quite often talk about. But now with Sarah Queen down towards that bot side instead, you can go with a fasting Senna. Sarah Queen. You know what we're on about here. You know what we like on the cast. She is absurd when she finally starts getting that Tear of the Goddess. Remember that Seraph's Embrace, it doesn't give extra AP now. It actually gives ability haste instead, which is so good with Seraphine's kit. Another thing is that you go for the Liandry's Torment instead. That burn you're going to be getting, that extra CDR as well. You're going to be spamming healing, you're going to be spamming roots, and you're going to be having such a great kite back composition. Usually with this bot lane, you kind of go like, okay, let's lose lane and then let's win the game afterwards. And that's kind of what you want to do from Bifrost. You want to have an extended team fight composition. Problem with that is you have a lot of squishies on your team. You don't actually have too many tanks that can stay in an extended fight.
About the squishies on your team,
Guys, lose lane, win game. That's the comps.
I love the explanation about the bot lane, and I'm going to move further up on the map for Bifrost because I felt like Seaboy and Fury really struggled to follow Tempt and Haru's tempo on the map. They fell short, and because these two fell short, the entire map fell apart for Bifrost. Right now, yes, I am very saddened that oh my Seaboy just do a noodle.
You mention him and he pulls off something like this. Seaboy's last game was not fantastic.
This is not
struggled a little bit in the previous series, but he's flashed to try and get it, and it's chompers down. My analysts are literally head in hands right now. You cannot see it, but they are unhappy.
That's my boy.
Fix this one up.
That's my boy right there.
Fix this one up.
Look, okay, I'll take it briefly.
Okay.
Let my color casters.
The inspiration. We have to give credit. We have to give credit to Noodle. He must have been the inspiration. Noodle was the one who flashed behind Baron Pits for Invade Blue.
But the problem was your bot lane this time around had a slow push into Naruto and Kising. It wasn't like Naruto and Kising was going to be forced to step up.
We don't talk about those.
Okay, fair enough. If we know all the factors that made that a bad play, it was a pretty good play.
So the thing is, why I'm mind blown here is the fact that Volibear's Q flash is so impactful because once you start charging the Q, your opponent doesn't know if you're going to flash. And if you do, you can insta-stun someone in place, and then you can train CC and kill.
Ooh, Nata's going to get rooted in place, but does have a shield, can start turning this one around, holds on to things like the cleanse.
And just real quickly, that is also due to the Senna buffs where her Q now slows, which allows you to root and stun on Seraphine once again.
Oh, the shield! And the heal will come out. Nata stays just about alive, gets away from the beat drop. Seaboy's around, Flash from Haru, not quite ready for the audacious charge. And both junglers can't quite make their flashes work.
We need to unbind flashes from both the junglers at this point. We need to unbind
I think that was a lot closer than C-Boys was in some ways, as Fury takes a bit of a nasty trade.
Was a face check on
It
the
was
wall.
very close to an
was a
OJC's
face check on
charge
the
range.
wall.
Look, okay, I understand you're mad. Go ball quickly.
Yes, but looking at the map state as well, let's try and like pull our mind back into the game. C-Boy's actually really far behind the tempo because he stayed so far down towards that bot side. He's only now started clearing his blue side. He haven't been back on a reset yet. Haru, on the other hand, can go for a reset just now. He's level 4 to C-Boy's level 3. Yes, C-Boy is supposed to be behind in the matchup as a Volibear, but waiting for that rubber band XP, waiting for these next skirmishes. If C-Boy stays out of the map too long, he's going to be behind in the item department, and that means that when you're fighting with Haru, you're most likely going to lose.
I just feel like this is just a miscommunication in the early game plan for Bifrost. You're running Shikari on that Akali top. You want to fight the Renekton pre-level 6 before he's very beefy with his ultimate. You're also running the Ignite, which means you have even more tools to pressure and kill in the early game. You've got the flash onto C-Boy, who can gank very early on and puts down a lot of damage. Path towards your top side of the map. Try to punish, get Shikari ahead. We've seen what Shikari can do with the likes of Gwen, with the likes of Akali, when he does get far ahead. And I felt like the problem for Bifrost in the previous game was that they just did not get a single lane rolling. And even though I agree with Kubok and I can understand how the Senna Seraphim wanted to go late game, man, you need to something rolling for you in the early.
And I guess for the side of Bifrost, historically, it has been the bot lane. Even in the last game, they were trying to make dives work on the bot side. Unfortunately, none of them ever really felt like they came for free. They were always traded back pretty negatively, honestly, as Nata will find himself rooted again into another beat drop. But of course, there's still the shield there from Kasing to make sure that one's a bit more even. And at least this time around, no one has died yet. The gold lead's still relatively even, so if Bifrost are looking to play this a little bit more stably, then that's probably good news for them. It's not a whitewash yet.
But I'm also looking to finally see Fury show up, really, because in the Ahri in the first game, we didn't really see too much of him. In this game, with the Lucian into Vex, it felt like a matchup where you wanted to get ahead once again. We haven't really done that, but I'm just going to drop that point. Both junglers are down towards the bot side. We may see some shenanigans again.
Pretty much levels, pretty much even here. It's Duel with a slight edge in the XP right now, but I don't think that makes a huge amount of difference, and it does mean Bifrost will ward themselves away from this one. I think Haru rightly in position here to prevent any easy options for a dive, and we are left ourselves with a relatively stable early game. My question to both of my color casters, and we'll start with Trouble. Who actually does this favor? Is it kind of still in the balance right now?
Okay, so I feel like both of these teams have a pretty good team fight. One custom front to back. I'm going to give it to X7. X7 want to go for this Dragon. Level 5 on C-Boy. Look at that. Haru is level 6. They have to back out, or they will lose again in the same fashion that they did before. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
Think about it, here we go! That'll be the attempt on the Vex Press, looking ahead forward with that Shadow Surge. Culling comes through, the 1 to 10 seconds, very, very low, has to flash out. Haru will tank up the rest and throw down the Crescent Guard. Nobody dies, but that cost a fair amount of summoners.
I think X7 are pushing their boundaries just a little bit. I think you get out, you take the Dragon, say thank you for the leash, and you run out. You start trying to push the lanes even harder. At this point, Nata is way, way too low, but they have Haru around in case he gets baited.
Oh, there's the heal bait, but now the Polymorph is out as well, and Duel is in trouble. Doesn't have Flash. Will now try to get their way out of danger, but a wind becomes lightning, and Seraphine is struck down.
It's just like Trouble said, it's the bait coming through from X7, and they're getting the most out of this matchup. Lane was started getting a little bit oppressive. This time around, though, they swap it up. They get the kill, they get the crash, and they get a favorable reset. Unless Odie can stop them here.
We'll get a Piercing Darkness, but it only stops
one
Kasing.
member you didn't care about stopping.
Again, if you look here, Nata was very illegally still attacking the Dragon, and they almost lost that on the Smite fight. But then again, X7, look at that. Kasing has no mana to keep on shielding and peeling and using that to the ADC's advantage, and they're diving in. Yes, Haru has the ultimate, but like chasing that far in, you can go back to your lanes, you can try to push in. Here, Nata gets caught, but very cleverly, Haru stays around because he is that freaking clever. Duel gets baited thinking they can actually kill Nata there. And they capitalize on the kill.
And to go back on your question, Sam, about who actually... I mean, as Chop was mentioning, both teams want to do the same. They want to scale up, but if Bifrost doesn't get ahead of the curve, I just feel like their composition becomes a little bit easier to front to back. Just because, I mean, Bifrost with Senna and with Seraphine, yes, they love the team fights. They love the extended traits, but they don't have a tank to facilitate with that extra extension.
Right, they're so squishy. Lordy lord.
And therefore, for Bifrost, I feel like you need to be ahead of the curve.
That's chunking out the jungler before the Herald gets to be started. X7 will now get to start this one up. C-Boy will use the Raptor to try and heal up a bit, but I kind of agree with what you're saying there, Goldborg. Got to be aware of what happens if this slight edge to X7 starts going even further. Trouble?
I'm going back to our initial question marks. I'm going to hold that because Kasing is
he's
going
dead.
to... Okay, I'm not going to hold that. I'm going to continue. I'm going to go back to our initial question marks. Can C-Boy keep up with Haru? Can Fury match Tempt? Can the duo from Bifrost keep up in general with the Korean duo on the side of X7? So far for me, it has been a no. Fury counterpicked into the Vex. He picked the Lucian to play into the Vex, to be aggressive, to be able to dash forward, and so far Tempt has shut him down in lane. Now Nata is in trouble as well, but thankfully for him only Odi is there. And my question is, what have you got to show for yourself if you're Bifrost? Yes, you play the front to back, very well said by Gulbok, but I feel like it's Jinx Zhao, man, with a Lulu. It's one of the most S-tier front-to-back combos you can have in the game. And we've seen the teamfights that X7 put up in the late game.
And despite the nerfs as well coming through, I mean, it's 5 to 4 seconds for Haru's ultimate. Those 4 seconds are still going to matter a lot when you're playing into the range of Seraphine, Senna, and Lucian. Majority of their damage won't actually deal damage to Haru. And as you said, Kasing and Nata being able to kite back, yes, Fishbones was nerfed a little bit. That's not going to change anything in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, with 3 items, it's fine.
And the excitement finally strikes again. I have to reiterate, I feel like for Bifrost, it is a little bit about getting ahead of the curve to make matters easier for them. It's not to say that they can't win it, because a good ultimate from Jewel can be crucial, but it's going to be difficult.
Definitely can be. Of course, you've got Dawning Shadow and, of course, Shikari's range as well, but never mind that, because Haru gets in. It's a triple encore, though. Dawning Shadow's there, but the knock-up from the Wild Growth means Seraphine has got nowhere to go but the grave.
And honestly, in the previous game, we saw the Haru Tempt train choo-choo going all the way to victory. Right now, they've swapped the chords completely. They're playing towards the bot side of the map. They're getting that Jinx Lulu, and they're making sure they shut down Odi and Duel, playing that ever-scaling bot lane before they even get to the stage where they look scary.
Yeah, and you know, you were talking about the junglers real quick beforehand as well, and yes, C-Boy, he has been struggling, especially when you compare him to Haru. But let me make a statement right here. Haru might not even, like, he's the best jungler we have in the league, but that's not even just going to cut it. He might just be the best jungler in the entirety of the ERLs moving into European Masters. So I feel like a lot of junglers are going to be struggling when they are facing Haru.
Stand up to the king and be counted is what you're asking for, and this would be a great way to start. Tempt gets taken out. Second kill on the board for Fury. You wanted to get in rolling? That's the way to do it.
That's exactly what you wanted there. Fury needs to be ahead of the curve, needs to get some mythic item to play for. If you can keep mid lane pushed in, then you can suddenly drive the plays yourself, especially when C-Boy's ultimate is still up. Haru looking forward with Fury.
Dacia's charge hasn't used the wind becomes lightning yet. There it is, but it will be dodged away from him. Fury has to flash out.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Haru is, what we saw from game 1, really good with keeping timers. So next time Fury presses his E button, I'm pretty sure Haru will be around to try and punish them.
This game has already been so much better than the last one for Bifrost, and a lot of that is due that they finally have something to play for. The fact that Fury is stable in the mid lane, the fact that Odi and Duel are even into a Jinx, which is a carry for X7, is really pivotal. Now, Haru maybe getting caught in River.
He just gets slowed down by the Chilling Smite. We'll use the Crescent Guard to knock away Bifrost. Kasing and Nata coming over, and we got ourselves a bit of a duel. He went in, there's the Wild Growth, still trying to take this one. So much healing! And now C-Boy's in danger. Vex gets that one. Shadow Surge just land onto Odi. Will go in! And now Duel left for the Wolves. Nata gets that one, and X7 come alive as the dragon spawns.
And Haru is just not scared of anything. The bot lane was pushing, and Kasing was able to buck him up instantly together with Nata. And you now see the power of Jinx Zhao with a Lulu. I think the trio down in the bot lane have been making wonders. And even though I do commend C-Boy for trying to take this fight, for taking out Haru right before the dragon, it just didn't happen.
Let's be real, we all thought that Haru was inting there for a second. We all thought he was going to go down. All of a sudden, Lulu ultimate into the Gordringer. He's back, and the rest of X7 is set up for the perfect fight.
Listen,
How many baits?
You see arrogance, he sees confidence, okay?
Just such a good bait. And Haru, yes, he's jumped. The Chilling Smite comes down, but the turnaround here, you can see the moment they decide they can play this.
Yeah, this is where he goes like, okay, I can totally go in here. I won't get blown up at all. And it looks so favorable. Look at Kasing. What a support hero. Flashes forward, shielding ultimate, Gordringer. The rest of Bifrost completely scattered and split up. And the entire space that Tempt creates for them makes sure that there's really no easy way for Bifrost to kite back. They all just left to run.
Okay, all the honors need to go to that Lulu on the bot lane. At the end of the game, he has to be the most honorable teammate.
100% KP alongside Nata, and honestly at this point as well, Bifrost blew every flash he had. God, Shikari wasn't even running it. Oh my days, the Super Mega Death Rocket nearly takes out Odie, and that was a lot of damage.
And so far, I mean, I'm looking at bot lane builds as well here, and Julie, I'm not seeing that Leandra's Tallman that I was looking for. So far, it might be Shirelia's or
Probably gonna be a
Moonstone as well. Yeah, but Moonstone as well. Once again, if you don't have a tank, if you don't have that extended team fight, the value drops on an item like that. And with the squishies that you have on your roster, as Moonstone has just been built, it may be, you may not be getting more value that you actually could have gotten with a different item.
You might have a Lucian, you might have the Akali, you might have some heals. I just don't know if they can get enough damage down before they get blown up.
Remember that Harrow has the timer on the flash, but back to the Akali and Lucian. This is why I was so upset that Fury did not get to play Akali again. Torok mentioned it as well. Both the lanes suck for Akali, but if I would put it somewhere, I'd put it against the Vex. I'd have it in the mid lane, having the Akali to play these fights around together with the Volibear could be very pivotal. We also know Fury is crazy good onto the Akali as well, so he can make it pop off. But now, like you mentioned, having the two squishy members, the Lucian and the Akali, your healing is only going to do that much when they get popped by 2 auto-attacks from Jinx.
I completely agree, and now X7, and one thing we've complimented them a lot for today.
Shikari is going to be
their rotations around objectives.
M-tier as well. This will be a 2v2. The Shadow Surge goes wild and compliments to the Chef, but this time it won't quite play off.
And now back to the map players. Well, you can see it rotated that bot lane into the mid lane instead. Utilize multiple members on the top side to make sure that when Rift Herald spawns at it, as it just have done, they're just in full control of the port. Okay, TP, Temp, let's see it. Into Fury.
He's got a cleanse.
Versus 2.
He's got no flash. They know where he is because of where the wards are in the bushes. Can they get close enough to interrupt him? Mistral Bolt will prevent a recall. Fury in this 1v2 has got to play this one out best he can, but a knock-up from the 3. Talon Strike secures a killing spree for Haru. Top side, what is going on here? Jaeger trying to get to the backside, gets a hold of Odie. And now Seaboy, unstoppable, trying to run away from this Herald. It was supposed to be a cross map. It'll just be a cross map death. Nata's final auto follows the flash. Shikari into the Twilight Shroud, but the only Twilight you'll be seeing is the grey screen. Shikari, no flash, no hope. He's got a tower and a dream right now. Maybe, just maybe, he'll get out. The zap secures that one too.
The trio again, baby. Swap the Zins out this time with the Renekton, and you've got someone to babysit around Nata and Kasinka and be their front line. This time it's going to be Jaeger onto that Renekton, and they're absolutely running the map down. Bifrost had their chance in the early game. They didn't take it quick enough, and I feel like, again, everything is falling apart. Great flank from Jaeger. We didn't see this on our maps. Actually, taking out Odie instantly, there's all your damage gone because, like Gulbok mentioned, Seraphine is going for that Moonstone, and Seaboy, who's supposed to be your only tank in the team, melts to a 1-item Jinx.
And it also goes back to the planning as well. X7, they were just on the top side earlier. They were the team planning out the vision. As Jaeger was making his way into the enemy jungle to go for that flank, there was no ward spotting him. They were going in blind for Bifrost, and it gives them less space to work with, and so much surprise factor for X7 in those team fights. It's so difficult for Bifrost to navigate anything.
Jaeger might be the price right now. They're looking to find themselves a little bit of a change in title, going for the Monster Hunter, but this time won't quite land. They'll get the bounty, though, all the while, though. Herald's being taken towards the top side, mid lane's been shoved in, and X7 certainly playing out the map relatively aggressively. Can Shikari make something happen, though?
I mean, it's just chaos all over the map, right?
Duel,
X7
Duel.
are ahead of the play. Goodbye, Duel.
Now Shikari's in trouble. He's going to try and find his way out. Wait for the Shadow Surge! And the Rocket just goes wide, but a final auto secures it anyway. A double to Nata, and now it's 10-2, and this game was close until it really, really wasn't.
I don't know what's happening, but Nata, he's showing up. He was on weak side duty last game playing Ezreal. This time around, he's getting resources. He gets to be the star player, and look how comfortable he is in this position, just running them down after getting the first turret.
And we spent 5 minutes in the early game saying, both of my color casts here, Goldborg and Trouble, were saying, look, Bifrost, if they don't get things rolling, if they don't get this Lucian to a terror point, if they don't get something out of the bot or the top side, things could get very difficult for them, and look where they are now.
I just don't think it's a good draft. I'll be honest with you. I'll just put that out there. You really don't have much to play for. I feel like it's disjointed. Individually, I would pair them up with different stuff as well, which is just a big main factor here.
Yeah, the same, right? As is Senna, Seraphine, I'm expecting melees, a bunch of melees. I'm expecting the Yones, I'm expecting the Aurelius coming in. I'm expecting a lot of jumpers that will stay alive long enough have to benefit from all the healing and shielding and peeling and distance that the Senna Seraphine combo can create. Again, I am very disappointed that this Akali is not in Fury's hands. I don't think Fury has looked particularly strong in the series so far. And man, I remember his performances last split in the NLC.
Oh, C-Boy, he's forced to flee away from the blast gun. That'll force an ultimate out, but the wind becomes lightning. And the rocket would have taken it, but Haru secures
the flee away straight back to his fountain.
Yeah, indeed.
That's the fastest reset you can get in town.
You're welcome.
Yeah, like, Gulborg?
What's up?
There's silver linings, and then there's whatever that was.
Okay, give it to us, give it to us.
Listen, I can't even find silver linings at the moment.
No,
I'll be completely real with you. I feel like you struggle once again. It's a little bit of a flashback to game one, at least for the mid game, to the point where you have a sinking ship. There's holes everywhere, and there's not enough buckets or extra planks in the ship to fill out the holes, and it's just bleeding all over the map.
The scariest thing is that X7 have showed 2 different playstyles, 2 different drafts, 2 different ways of playing the game. From game A to game B, they've showed 2 different styles in 2 different sides of the map. So how in the world do you start shutting them down?
That's the thing from X7 at the moment. They're just all showing up. It's every member. Like, yes, it's Haru in terms of course, but Nata and Kasing has had their individuals performing in this one as well. Jaeger, once again in a 1v2, comfort spot for him, but this time around...
He can. That'll still be a turnaround down in Jaeger's side laning. Maybe that's the way you get back into it. It's his first death, I feel like, this series where he's overextended in the side lane and not at least got one back, but finally he falls.
And let me reiterate, this is the team that came into the NLC for the first season. This is the team that took everyone else in the NLC by storm. This is the team that stomped everyone to the ground. This is the team that has a literal world champion in the team, and EU Masters have to be watching that. Other ERLs have to be watching that because other ERLs are going to have to face that.
And this, as a reminder, is a series to become the NLC champions in 2022. This is the match that decides who goes straight to groups to try and prove what we can do in EU Masters. And a Baron would be a great way for X7 to put their foot down on this even harder.
He does have flash, ultimate is up and available as well, but look at the vision once again, X7, they're just shooting it down.
Flash Cole, the meek and a killer instinct will make sure that one's a little bit difficult. Apologies, Ruthless Predator, there's no Kai'Sa in this game. Over the wall again goes Jaeger. Shikari will try and outplay C-Boy over the wall with the Sky Splitter, can try and get something. Could still maybe come in on solo HP. Flashes in too late, and they'll get the kill anyway. All the side tempt taken very low. Shikari will at least get one back. Now Haru's left in a bit of no man's land. Shikari and Duel and Odie, for that matter, could maybe be in trouble. Wind becomes lightning, will not connect, and now Haru needs to try and extricate himself. He's being hunted, being run down, but they will not continue to chase.
Surely not.
No, my days. Got close.
So, okay, that was a really nice try for Bifrost, especially because X7 were completely split apart. And now I'm gonna raise you a question. Imagine C-Boy pathed top lane early. Imagine this Akali had more items than she had right now, because Shikari played this fight so well around the scattered members of X7.
Yeah, but it's also getting so messy from this side of X7. You can see that they don't have the full vision control that we're so used to seeing from them. This gives a lot of space to them to actually go to that little front to back we're talking about, and they're scattered. 3 members were in the pit, 2 members were on the right side where Bifrost is able to take care of them, and despite the fight situation being so bad for X7, they're actually able to come still out with a Baron and still be on the tempo play afterwards.
And honestly, C-Boy survived for so long and managed to flash into the pit despite being on literally 10 hit points. I genuinely thought he was done for, and that would have made that a little less close, I suppose, but either way, it did come down to a little bit of a smite fight. Now Bifrost down against this Baron, down nearly 10,000 gold, and down in this series, nearly at that 0-2 point, unless they can hold on here in this game.
So if you think about it, Bifrost have a really nice composition to either die forward or peel backwards, mainly peel backwards because you have a Senna Seraphine, but if you get hunted down...
C-Boy's gonna try and go forward, back around goes Tempt, gets in on that one, but doesn't really have a stopwatch and does go for a 1-for-1. It's support for mid lane. A polymorph, though, is Shikari trying to perfectly execute his way out. A final auto will be stopwatched. Haru is trying to run away in a 1 versus 3, but Nata gets a hold of the Shikari, and that will make make it a 1-4-2. Haru lands the win, becomes lightning, goes in onto Seaboy, who gets stunned by the thundering smash. Now trying to run back out from the way Odie is. Jaeger goes in, still gets the Ruthless Predator. The zap afterwards chunks him down to about 10% HP as well. And now this mid lane inhibitor turret is under siege, and I don't think Bifrost can do anything to stop it.
They can't, and it's just X7 supremacy once again. Haru being a 1 versus 3 monster in that fight, and still with 3 members of X7 in the mid lane. Haru is just setting up the bot side as well. And as we can see on the minimap, that is just Ocean Soul for the 2nd time in a row this series, waiting for X7 to be picked up.
Well, that's unfortunate, isn't it? One of the most broken souls in the game goes back-to-back to X7. And honestly, I was just about to say, when you're playing a peeling composition, right? Because only Akali can reach the backline. You need someone else right there to assist the Akali to try and get the kill. When you're playing a peel composition, that means your Jinx is just never threatened by anything. The second Akali dives in, she instantly gets polymorph. 3 auto-attacks by Nata is all it takes to take down the assassin. And on the other hand, you just keep peeling. I'm just missing the action from the front line from the set of Bifrost.
And they just keep going. Haru, so strong with the Death Dance, with so many items, he just can't be stopped. And when, like, it gets worse again when you realize that, like, Tempt is a Zhonya's away from not being finished in like a 6-0-3 Xin Zhao's got so far ahead. A 6-0-6 Jinx, who, despite nerfs, is an utter terror at this point.
Okay, let's see if we can Jinx them. Will they die by the end of the game? Go, Gulbog.
No, they will not, because this is by far the free Jinx game.
Yeah, it is about a free Jinx game, but I just don't think they do die at this point. Haru gets to go in and do that. That's why they won't die. They land an encore onto 1. There is still a redemption that comes through and does even less damage. Jewel is dead as well. Z-Boy goes in, but Nata's got a wild growth. Cannot be stopped. More autos come through courtesy of a help. Picks a triple kill for Haru. The world champion stamps down his authority, and he's a step closer to finding his way to the group stage of European Masters. He's a step closer to finding himself the NLC champions here in spring 2022. 1 game away. Game match point right now.
NX7 is like, you want strong top lane? We got it. You want strong jungle? We got it. You want strong mid? We got it. You want strong bot? We got it. They see it, they like it, they want it, they got it. And that's what they're gonna do to that EU Masters trophy as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, okay, bold statement, but you know, I like backing it up. They are looking very, very good. And remember, last time these two teams played, it went to a best of 5. Remember, Bifrost was usually the kryptonite of X7, being the only team they couldn't beat twice in regular season, which was massive with the implication of how good X7 actually was. But this time around, everyone's stepping up, and honestly, with the Jinx in this composition, no one was stopping it. Nata could walk up and would never have to be afraid of someone actually punishing him.
Before playoffs, X7 was 0-5 against Bifrost all time. They are now in playoffs 5-2 here. Gonna go to a break, 2-0 to X7. They're 1 game away from finding their way to group stage in EU Masters and becoming the NLC champions here in spring.
Welcome back to the NLC. Game 2 is over. It was a quick one. Wrap it up. X7 is one game away of becoming the Kings of the North, getting that trophy right over there and getting themselves into EU Masters main stage as well. It's so close!
It is, and I mean, X7, I mean, they continue to impress. A little bit worried for Bifrost after that game again. We said, okay, very much so. After game 1, we said, you got to really show us what you're made of in game 2, because that was a bit of a shellacking. Give us something to give yourself confidence. Give us confidence, you know. You're still going to European Masters. The road doesn't end here. This is it's a battle for pride. It's a battle for the NLC title. But there's still a lot of work to be done. Job's not done yet. And this game 2 is not the response we'd hoped from them.
It's really concerning that in game 2, Bifrost already was sabotaging their own belief system, their own values, the way they play the game in order to try and deal with X7. It's almost like they actually got hit a lot more by that first game than any of us predicted, and I think they got caught up in the in thinking this is a sprint and not marathon, right? When you get into a best of 5, really important that you maintain the way you play best, always.
And I feel like it comes back to this one word again. We said this a little bit in pre-show. It's gamesmanship. A best of 5 is not standard League of Legends. There's a lot of minutiae which goes into it on a emotional level, on a mental level, on a coaching level, lots of stuff like that. And the question is, can you stay the ship in these kind of rocky moments? And you've only got one life left to do this now. And I really hope Bifrost do come out swinging in this next one. We asked that for that last one, but the question is, no, how do they achieve that? They've had 2 very different drafts in the first 2 games. They did show the Seraphine in their last series again in that Juggernaut match in the first time they faced XL7. It didn't work out best then either. What else you got left in the tank now? Because you've been preparing obviously a lot of stuff. You've got to have something ready to answer them.
I think it's not about answering X7 at this point. You've already pulled out your Joker. You pulled out the Lucian. You thought, okay, we're bringing Lucian mid. We're bringing Seraphine again. It didn't work in last series, but you know this is stuff we have up our sleeves that we think is strong. Issue is it came out at the wrong time. Bifrost weren't in a position to capitalize, and now they really need to get back to fundamentals. Fundamentals, fundamentals, right? Play League of Legends as it's meant to be played, and come into a game with...
So we're loading up into Howling Abyss now. So we're going to be random rolling our champion.
ARAM on the way, yeah.
How it's meant to be played.
Well, by many of the player base, that's for sure.
We were talking about something else in the pre-show, the idea that if you have bullets, like special bullets, you need to know when to pull the trigger.
Absolutely.
You got to bring everything now. You got to bring everything that you have. When you're talking about, okay, I want Bifrost to bring safe scaling lanes. Can you debate that?
So yeah, this was kind of one of my issues looking at what Bifrost have given us in the first 2 games is that they've tried to fight early game because I feel like they felt they needed to. And I wanted to have a draft which doesn't kind of fool them into that style of play. Game 1, we saw them make that early jungle cock up. The rest of the game kind of fell apart from that. In the second game, they had to make sure the Seraphine was still on the table and they didn't have the tools to kind of all in at that kind of time. I wonder if you do need to pick in something like a long-ranged mage in that mid lane. I know it's not necessarily what Fury has been most famous for. I wonder if that's just a little easier to theorycraft and say, look, this is quite an obvious way to play out the game. It's easier for us to work our game plan around it. And it makes it easier to focus on fundamentals when they do that.
I have something very specific for you. That's why I want to approach this with you. It's not about even the picks that Haru is bringing. We were talking about that in the green room. Oh, is Shinzao actually good versus... No, he's not. It's Haru. How can you deal with Haru?
The issue is every single... Doesn't matter what champion Haru's playing, essentially. That's the problem, is Haru plays every single jungle champion within the context of the game to its maximum possible output. So it doesn't matter if he's on Xin, doesn't matter if he's on Lee, doesn't matter if he's on Diana, and the list goes on, you're still playing against Haru, and you're playing against a decision-making machine that doesn't put a foot wrong.
It's like have you ever played Chessmaster 3000? Well, welcome to the League of... No. I played it a lot as a kid growing up. Anyway, it's like playing against, your really high-level AI in a chess game or something like that, where they just make the right decisions, and it's very hard to upset that, especially when you feel like the pressure of that after that point, thinking, oh, heck, I've got to do something unorthodox. He's just going to outplay me at this point. And I feel like that's getting the Bifrost a little now.
Especially when you're trying to be unorthodox outside of your style, because then you're not used to how you want to bend the rules. If Bifrost are at least playing the way they're used to, they understand, well, okay, here are the here are the turning points where I can try and do something a little cheeky, right? But the problem is really we're just coming in and flipping a coin. Is this flash over the wall going to do something or not? Actually, completely misfired.
And the mental keeps piling up, piling up, piling up. This could be their last shot. It is. If they fail, they're gone. They lose the finals and they go into play-ins for EU Masters. On the other side, X7 are really close to getting themselves the trophy, access to EU Masters as well. They got it all. Haru is a king. And I'll see you after this break into the third and possible last game of the entire split. Welcome back, third game of the night. This could be the last one of the entire split, but I don't wanna. I want more, I want more. Give me more. Give me that reverse sweep. Let's kick it off. And now Bifrost decided to go blue side.
So what happened with Bifrost last time on the blue side was X7 responded with, we're going to ban a lot of AD carries on red side and see what happens. And then it was the first pick of the Xayah, which was the last of like the hyper long range AD carries. Now, things went a bit weird with the early game because they picked up the Yuumi, they lost the jungle matchup early on with a couple of mistakes, but we loved the draft. I reckon if it was a salty run back and say, haha, we'll just do this again, I actually wonder if Bifrost can sort out that early game and coast into a much more healthy mid game. We'll see if it happens in a similar kind of degree, because the same bans are up there on the table.
AD carry bans into Xayah. It was going to happen. The thing is with Xayah, you've got to remember, auto attack wise, she's not the long range AD carry. When you go to the lethality build, it's the Q, it's the ultimate, it's the threat that she has when the rest of the composition outranges that makes Xayah very oppressive. And you're going to see a very similar rotation out of X7. Ezreal has the range. They're going to try and pressurize this top side probably. They're going to try and utilize range to their advantage. I called Calm before. Obviously, they could do other things, but it's really important here again, X7 sticking to their values. X7 are playing the way they want to play. This is what we want to see from Bifrost, right? But X7 are bringing their style. They know their answer to Xayah. They know what's happening in this draft.
So,
do you leave the Volibear?
Well, this is the thing, right? I wonder if Bifrost want to go for the Volibear. Now, you see the Xin Zhao locked in, and we saw how disgusting Hari was on that pick in that last game. And something like the Xayah, of course, not as great at dealing with something like a Xin Zhao in terms of the first couple of seconds of that fight, because if you have to pop your ultimate and your E against that Xin Zhao, you're like, well, actually that's a lot of my damage which has been taken away from the rest of the team. I wonder if X7 are very clinical about the way that they dive onto that Xayah. They're actually happy with this combo already.
Oh, they divert to the top lane. They want to get that Gnar. They want to get Shikari ahead.
Well, their last rotation, their rotation from the last time they played this out was the Gnar, and then it was also the Volibear to my knowledge, and I believe they also hovered that the last time too.
And they also,
very similar.
There's a differentiating factor here. They also hovered Alawi. And I'm just letting you guys know that Alawi is a good luck charm.
This is not going to happen because Ezreal is...
There's a comeback from Bifrost side. Volibear again, interestingly, right? But there is a genuine chance of a comeback here from Bifrost. They're rerunning the same draft from game one, the same draft Bifrost were happy with, clearly, the same draft we were happy with. And it's a salty run back, which, in our opinion, is in their favor.
Like we said, it wasn't the draft, it's just the issue. So actually, as soon as we came off of the cast of that one, we kind of saw the tri-cast come off. Trouble was like, well, sometimes it's not drafters win you games, it's the play. And we're kind of on accord with that. The question is, of course, what do you change in regards to that? Can you actually stop X7's dominant early game? Because they had a lot of these early game counters. I mean, we'll see if Bifrost want to ban away something like the Aurelia this time. Do they want to ban away the LeBlanc to have a safer blind pick option in the Aria in that mid lane? I think the second round bans are going to be more telling than the first half of this draft.
And it's already telling because you see the Aurelia ban, right? Yeah. Bifrost noting the important part to take away from X7 is that individual lane skill, that individual flair that X7 has, and instead we'll be more happy to give them compositional counters which aren't as strong in the actual lane phase, because as we know, when Bifrost gets to mid to late game, even if there's a compositional counter from the side of X7, Bifrost are so much more comfortable in these mid to late games.
Okay, so next big thing, Leona's now available. Leona's up and available, and you know, we've got to give ourselves a bit of a jig. Get up there, get up.
Look at that.
Lovely moves. Someone made that into a TikTok. I'm sure they will.
How smooth is Goldberg, though? Come on. I don't know. There's something.
But when you have the Leona open in this case, right, you have the ability to 3v3 through bottom side, which they didn't have with the Yuumi in game one. And there is a bit of a change with this course with the Xin Zhao being locked in for X7. It's not the Viego. Your 3v3 early is much stronger with that champion. So that dynamic has changed a little bit. But again, you can understand why that is important and what the picks to which have changed from the first game and how they've impacted that.
I'm already so much happier for this draft from the side of Bifrost right now, because not only, as you said, they could get the Leona, really important for Jewel, hovering it away, right? There are other counter picks available here as well that are equally as strong, but also the Graves being locked in for X7 here. Huge vulnerability to Tabis, huge vulnerability in terms of overall team composition potentially. They need a strong magic damage carry here to come in. And the problem is that's going to be very vulnerable to Volibear, Leona, and Vex, right? Because as soon as you're doing that, as soon as you're locking in that mage, they're taking teleport 9 out of 10 times in this matchup, and they should be ganked 24/7.
Okay, let's look into setup, because if you look at the Bifrost jungler setup, you have a lot of lanes to gank on the other side. Okay, Zoe comes in, and that's a setup, I guess.
So, need we remind our viewers that in the Juggernaut match, first time these two faced in that best of 5, the first series that we had from these two in playoffs, the last game which sealed it out was an incredible Zoe game from Tempt. We said, and that was a difficult game to play Zoe in, actually. That was a difficult one. It was into a Caitlyn, it was outrange, it was Caitlyn Lux even, with a lot of ability to answer that champion. This is a much easier draft to play that into, because if you get towards mid-game and you set up an objective, Bifrost don't want to be tanking those Palisades bubbles.
It's the classic Ezreal Zoe, poke composition, Graves on top of that with the ultimate, into when you see Xayah first pick, right? Whilst I was trying to lean in a different direction beforehand, X7 has still kept the same theme. Range, 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 right? There's nobody on the side of Bifrost that can reach them in terms of abilities. They have to hard engage. It has to be Leona, it has to be Gnar finding these fights. They don't get that, it's going to be really tough to take these objective battles versus X7.
It's time to move on. It's time to look into this game. For Bifrost, this is their last shot to make anything of these finals. If they want to go and take this trophy back home, they have to fight versus X7. They have to face the kings. X7, though, are one step away of climbing the mountain. It's do or die for both of them. Without further ado, I'll toss it to the casters one more time. Take it away, boys.
Gentlemen, we
Hello.
could be facing another 3-0 in the finals. Now, I don't know if any of you two predicted that.
I did not.
Because I'm getting called a jinxer in the playoffs. Just saying.
All right, well, I was going to take us on a bit of a narrative line, and the narrative that Trouble has decided to go with is that she's better than us, which is rough, but potentially...
Just for predictions, just for predictions.
Okay, fine. Right, well, anyway, she's proven her point. She's quite good at this. But yes, a couple things to note here. Reminder, we had a lot of narratives around Bifrost versus X7 and X7's sloppiness in mid-games. Ability to, yes, play to an incredible level, but at the same...
Honestly, production, I feel like you could have been way more creative this time around. We have a screaming goat. Goat.
That was a goat?
You know what my favorite goat is?
Out. What's your favorite goat?
Well, currently it's actually Haru.
I knew you were going there with that. Oh, we go. I was going to go on so many narrative arcs, and production has led us this way, but you're right. Haru has been a monster. He has a skin in the damn game. We'll bring it up as often as we damn well like, because very few guys have done
Remember
that.
why?
Can we show
he has a
Ezreal
skin
real
in the
quick?
game?
Can we show Ezreal real quick? Just show Ezreal.
Ooh. What do you know? He's got it. He's wearing Haru's skin.
Wait, whose skin is that?
Is that actually the skin? Is
I
that
think
not
it might.
Frost?
No, it's not.
It's not.
Honestly,
Nata?
Nata as a teammate,
Okay,
you know, you literally have a guy.
That's not cool.
I know,
with a
right?
skin on your team,
That's not
on the
cool.
champion you've been playing 2 times today. And you've
I'm
not chosen
upset.
the skin.
You know, Haru, have words
You did
with
play
him.
it first time.
But Kasing is playing the skin.
That's true.
True.
Yeah.
Samsung skins there abound from back in 2017 when Haru became a world champion, rather, alongside his role partner in Ambition, of course, who was the other jungler on that
he was there
squad.
too.
Indeed, he was. He did quite well. He had a whole music video done about him the year after. Quite a good one from what I remember. But either way, little note about Tempt here as well. This is his second most played champion of all time, behind Azir, which was such a big deal for such a long time. Gulborg, you seem to have something you've got your eye on.
Hiding the screen from me.
Sorry about that.
He's very passionate. Go on, man.
Yeah, so I feel like just diving into the compositions this time around, because the first 3 picks was a mimic of the first game that we were seeing. I feel like Bifrost this time has a few more tools to play around with. I actually think it benefited them a little bit that X7 decided to ban away the Yuumi, and they now get to have Jewel on Leona. This is where we see him shine so often on some of these engaged champions. Like, you think Thresh, you think the Leona, you think the Nautilus, some of these champions that can actually be aggressive and have the rest of your team follow you. Now there's something to dive with on Volibear as well. Now there's something to engage with the follow-up as well with the Vex in the mid lane.
And I really like you calling that, because this is Bifrost's last chance. They are 0-2 down if they want to turn up the way we saw them turn up in the Juggernaut match in that upper bracket final against X7. It needs to start now, and it needs to start with some serious steps up. Yes, X7 have looked so much cleaner. Their mid games have been so much more dominant. They've looked much more crisper in terms of how they're controlling the map. All of that is great for X7, but Bifrost haven't really matched that at all this series right now, and it has to start somewhere, and Duel on something like a Leona sounds like a good start.
Absolutely, but X7 are sporting a 3rd place style for this best of series. They started with a 1-3-1. Then they went into a full team fight comp, front to back. And now if they so wish to, they can play the 1 and 4. Have your Graves on a side lane. Maybe it's a whole breaker. It's after the nerf, but still it can work. But also if it doesn't, he's pretty durable on his own to be on a side lane after the shield ball plus a bloodthirster. And then the 4-mark core that you're leaving behind is so slippery and so durable that cannot easily be dived.
This could be good from the side of Bifrost, because Harrow have just cleared up the scuttle, so X7, they may feel like they're in a false sense of security here, where they're like, well, we got the bot side scuttle. Surely there's not a jungler around, but...
And no flashes
That's
have been
the
used,
recall.
crucially.
Yeah, C-Boy this time around, you know, he's got too many nightmares after his bot lane attempts.
Oh, it's not been the best series from C-Boy. This is a guy who was pretty critical, actually, honestly, in getting some of those wins against X7 in that initial matchup in playoffs, but the semifinals, Viking kind of had the edge over him. I think we've all kind of come to that conclusion in this series. He's been kind of under Haru's thumb, and there haven't been the comebacks that we saw when they were finding their victories earlier in playoffs, earlier in the split.
And once again, the vision control from X7 has already spotted C-Boy out. Double scuttle over to Haru again, just proving once again his jungle kingdom. What he's able to get done once he's got lane to facilitate him. So C-Boy, they have all the intel that he is on the top side. This allows them to play a bit more defensive. Haru is hovering up towards that top side, so even if Jaeger was going to get dived, well, he would have his jungler to protect him.
And of course, with the Sky Splitter coming down, it does give Haru and the rest of X7 knowledge of where C-Boy was lurking. Jaeger throws down his own ward, but it's right now just kind of playing this one about as safely as he can, aware that there might be some pressure around.
Yeah, at this point, I think you played slow, right? There had been way too many mistakes in the early game that allowed Haru to pick up steam, right? And sort of snowball the game out of control for X7. So you definitely do not want to be giving these opportunities away if you're Bifrost. You've got a pretty well-scaling team. You've got a pretty good reach into the backline with the Megana, with the Volibear, with the Leona later on, the Vex ultimate. So you do have the access, and Zoe is more vulnerable. Tempt is more vulnerable on this champion. You can reach the Ezreal, you can reach the Rakan to delete them. So there are options later on if you look into their team fights.
Right, and I think that's something to call out, because while X7 have actually got pretty good range between Ezreal, between Zoe, between Graves if he throws out a lot of his burst and his cooldowns, Bifrost have got really good ways to close down on those members, and with Herald being a thing in a few minutes, with the initial Drake up now as well, Goodborg, I am curious to see, do you expect Bifrost and X7 to clash, or if not, who is going to be looking to prioritize those objectives?
I could totally see them clash. He's already had half-hit level 6, and you get the level 6 on Leona as well, but currently, actually, they have the priority. Fury, he was the first one to recall. He TP'd in before Temp could do so, so he gained the mid lane priority down towards the bot side. You have to push this time around. When you're facing Leona into Rakan, when you have the Lethality Sire that gets to shove in the waves with the Feta, you can actually be the first Drake here from the side of Bifrost in a game in this series.
First time they've got a first Drake all series long. Proactive moves from Bifrost, just off slightly quicker reset timings. It's another stable early game, a little bit like the last game. We are seeing Bifrost at least come out in the edge for now, and again, there's only one neutral objective in the good, at least in the early game here.
But also on the other side, you see the restraint from X7, right? Temp TPs a little bit later than Fury. You don't want to be face-checking into the Vex. You don't want to be face-checking into Feathers and a Leona. So everybody backs off, goes back to the waves, pushes their lanes down. So at some point, the laners are going to have to come back and reply. So honestly, when your opponent takes something, X7 are just so good at losing the least amount possible so far out of any other team.
And now, I would actually like to see Fury try and get some control of the mid lane, get a reset through before you really hit that first Rift Herald to come through, because that is going to be the point of attack, and you can already see the map right now. Haru is the first run around. Tempt is already hovering up towards the top side, and Bifrost, once again, just a little slow on the play, and there's these small factors, this little tempo that X7 creates on the map that makes matters so difficult to play into them.
Gotta look for the bubble, will force the flash from Fury, who just couldn't hold on to that, had to move away from where the bubble was coming in. Easy summoner blown.
But look at the wave of Fury right now. It is gonna slowly push towards Tempt. If Tempt wants to keep the wave wherever he pleases, he may as well do so. That means that Fury is gonna either have to call C-Boy in the mid lane to help him push in the wave, or he has to back, and Tempt gets to shove in the wave, and then he gets
Not a bother. Meganar flashed away from Jaeger. Good call there, Goldborg. But he does get out there with the quick draw flash. Combo is down the summoner spell now, though.
And that's the thing, you look at the bot lane right now, because you had the Sire into the Ezreal, OD gains control of bot side, and therefore the supports can move first from the side of Bifrost, but Shikari need to be careful.
Haru's back. We never did our World Champion Gangster Night cover of like, In the Jungle, which we did have some plans for at some point. It involved basically singing Haru at a very high pitch to the tune of Wimbleway. But another time.
Never too late.
Never too late. Imagine it, ladies and gentlemen, if you so choose. Another time we might go and do that. There's probably a TikTok in at some point. Anyway,
are you looking at me?
I'm looking at both of you. I know what you're like. Either way, we've got the Herald spawned. Scuttle Crab Vision is currently X7's, but C-Boy's the one starting as Duel takes a nasty chunk but goes over the wall and really regrets it. Haru now chunking out, gets the 3 Talon Strike of first blood. Of course it's to Tempt.
And it's just so scattered again from the side of Bifrost. 2 members is on the Rift Herald. Duel, he's looking for Engage, but he's going on to Tempt, who had Cleanse on this Zoe, so he's engaged. He's forced to flash away immediately after, realizing that 2 members is next to Tempt playing Bodyguard.
And I want to remind you why X7 could not walk in to get the Dragon before. That was because Audi was there. The feathers are just so important to be set down first, so X7 cannot just blindly walk in. Fury needs to be there with a Vex, so they cannot face check that Fear. They cannot face check the Vex passive. But none of the two were there. Audi was stuck down the bot lane in the transition towards the top side of the map, and Fury was stuck in his mid lane because he couldn't walk too far forward because he doesn't have his flash available to get out. So yet another great read on the map by X7, capitalizing on yet another mistake from Bifrost.
And just to add on that point as well, it's because they wasted so much time that Nata got to push in the bot side. He got to move into the mid lane that then gained more pressure for X7, and now he's back in the bot side again, ready to
Think
pick up
about
the wave.
this. Flash is going to be blown from Tempt. He's now looking to see whether he can land a bubble. Doesn't quite manage to make it happen. The paddle star just about goes wide.
And that could have been a kill if that bubble actually connected. Remember, Fury was forced out of his flash just 2 minutes earlier. And once again, X7 on the map, they're gaining more pressure. Jaeger gets the first plate down towards the bot side. They are pushed in, but that was just because Nata was moving, as we explained. All of a sudden, this tempo we quite often talk about, X7, they're looking for it, but we're returning back into an even map state.
Yes, it is, but as it stands, Bifrost kind of just that little step behind right now, and we'd kind of set up, or at least I'd set up for maybe a bit of a cataclysmic clash around that Herald, but the initial pick stymies that. Maybe with the Dragon spawning in about 40 seconds or so, that might be the next opportunity. Level 6 not in for duel, though, is a problem. I don't know how far away he is from it. Surely he can't be that far.
Should be very close,
There it
because
is.
Sync has already hit it for quite a while now, so he must be able to get that. Audi, of course, was sitting down in the bot lane all alone, so he is level 7. There you go, level 6 for Duel. So right now, it is a fight on who's going to get vision first in this Dragon. As you can see, both mid laners, extremely vulnerable, do not have their flashes available, so they cannot overextend. The second C-Boy moves forward, Tempt has to move backwards.
But at least this time around, you have the bot lane priority, so Duel can move in and you can finally get some control of the river. This seems like one of the games where Bifrost, they're looking like a team who can actually contest the objectives. But however these team fights will play out, it will come down to execution. Mid lane has been pushed in by Bifrost, allows them to gain control once again of the river, but no one's walking in. Odie's recalling, and if they spot this...
Okay, so they're
a
basically
ward.
maybe forfeiting this Dragon. I mean, it's fine. They still have the first one available to them. And you need Audi to be there
C-Boy.
because he has that Eclipse.
Oh, Kasing's going to face check. That will grand entrance over the wall, so not too much damage blown onto the Rakan. What's that ward just behind the river waters? What are you thinking about right now?
Yeah, just
Gorbog?
like that. Haru gets spotted on a ward on top side. That means the rest of Bifrost can now start up the Drake because they know X7's going for a cross map instead
Yeah.
with the Rift Herald. Shikari, are you going to try to go for some outplay potential? Actually, both players are backing up here.
Just push him off the honestly, just push him off the tower, get more gold into Jaeger. We mentioned how they want to play 1 and 4, but Tempt has been called.
He's got cleanse, he's got no way out though. The stun from Duel will allow a follow-up, and Fury gets that one as Tempt was looking to try and get something towards a topside roam and gets caught in that
Surely
rotation.
Nata doesn't get it again, right?
C-Boy is now going to start up this Dragon. Will have Smite, but he's going to get charmed up, knocked up, and he needs to now find his way out, smited early to try and tank up the Dragon. Surely not again! And the Dragon is taken by Nata. Cleanest Smite the whole damn game. Mystic shot. Kasing will go down and trade it to 1-for-1 plus Dragon to X7 in the bot side.
Did I jinx this too?
You probably did. And just like that, they pick up objectives again. Rift Herald made the top tower very close, but Shikari, he's still fighting for the wave control. He's still fighting to push Jaeger back. And let's have a look at it once again. C-Boy, as you said, forced to smite early to regain HP. Ultimate comes through, tries to secure it, but he's just so low. And despite Fury doing his best, picking up the Drake himself, which is not able to make it work. Unfortunate flash from Kasing to end the exchange of that. But in the end, I mean, you can argue who's that worth it for. They pick up the kills. There's still some gold to be spent from Bifrost.
I mean, honestly, it's the most even game we've seen out of all 3 so far. Yes, X7 are ahead, but they're only 1,000 gold ahead right now. They have the Eclipse on their Zarya, which means these feathers are going to be hurting whoever they hit. Because if you look on the side of X7 right now, they have 3 very squishy members, especially towards the bot side of the map. So whoever they hit, whoever gets stunned, they could be blown up really quickly. So I really like that Bifrost actually have options right here, especially with the Vex, the Volibear, getting into the backline, blowing someone up.
And this is the man right here we need to take a look at. Joel, there's so much pressure on him for Bifrost because he's been gifted a lane where he gets first move every time as a support. Odie is pressuring bot, allows Joel to leave, Odie's left for safety, and then it's up to Joel to see if he can make anything happen on the rest of the map. And no flash, you say it yourself.
Oh, Zenith Blade, Solar Flare, but the stopwatch will buy time for Tempt. And now how does it go? Duel's taken so desperately low. There's a flash available for Tempt. Won't quite manage to find that bubble afterwards, though. So well played from Tempt to extricate himself from a dangerous position. But stopwatch was popped in trade for the summoners of Duel.
And CC Chain, it's just not layered in that instant.
Oh, Duel is dead.
He's just done for. Duel may just be dead here.
Revenge from Tempt.
It's a bit of vengeance for that play towards the topside river. Chases him out a little bit further. Does have the option now. Kasing and Haru taking control of Bifrost's red side jungle. Odie's had to back away from the tower as well.
I think I've heard you saying that quote so many times this series because I don't think C-Boy has been able to walk into his jungle free. He will either lose his life or he will lose a bunch of camps and fall behind, which has been the case yet again. And of course, it doesn't just come just from C-Boy's performance, right? When lanes fall apart, there's only so much you can do. And even though Bifrost has been keeping up in this game, it just somehow feels that the tempo, the way X7 plays around the map, the Graves getting ahead in the top side of the map, it just feels good for them.
Yeah, and you said it, the way they play around the map, you can already see the aggressive vision that Haru is gaining around here. He knows red buff is spawning in less than 1 minute. First top turret has just been picked up as well for Jaeger. And with the priority in lanes, X7 is constantly looking for a play to commit to.
I was about to say, it's only about 1,000 gold difference. Suddenly it's 2,000 after some of those jungle camps, and that first tower finally comes through here at the 15-minute mark. It had been a little slower, but suddenly X7 have themselves, if not a massive lead, at least a respectable one here. And Bifrost still in it, of course, still got an early dragon, but there are some discrepancies here which are making things a little tricky. You can see top jungle continuing to be dominant for X7, but at least Odie this time in a position to do some work.
Yeah, but this time it's Bifrost who wants to play cross map instead. They realize that Rift Herald will be taken by X7. They know they don't want to fight for it. They want to play towards their carry, and that's why C-Boy is investing so much attention down towards this spot side. They do spot it out with the Ezreal, but C-Boy, he don't care. You can pick up this blue buff, you can pick down the bot turret, and that's just going to be it for Bifrost.
And that's why it's just clever to pick Ezreal from the side of X7. They know that Nata is going to be playing yet again on the weak side. They give him a champion that's very slippery. He knows he's going to get camped by C-Boy because Odie and Duel are the strong side of the map for Bifrost, and C-Boy will want to play towards there, but you just cannot catch Nata at all on the Ezreal, and therefore you get punished on the other side of the map. This Graves is going to be huge. He's getting yet another Rift Herald, and now they can even break mid lane tower and go for Dragon.
But I do want to speak about the difference in composition this time around from Bifrost. Odie on this side, compared to the first game as well, he is super good into the enemy team composition. There's really not a lot of threat unless he gets hit by a bubble. May have overstepped here though.
Or a spear.
And that's a good solar flare to buy some space, and the glacial slow afterwards by Stipe. But look who's teleported in, it's Jaeger. There's just no way, don't burn the Feather Storm, because there is no way you can fly away from your problems there. Taken down before he can fly south, migrate for winter.
How good is he 1v3 versus this comp?
I mean, it's almost 1 versus 5, isn't it? And that's where it becomes an issue, because Graves in itself, walking into the Sire gets to have the greater range. Haru as well, he'll get ulted. Kasing, he'll get ulted, right, when they try to go in on them. So Nata as well will have to hit Mystic Shot, but the range has been matched by the feathers as well. And Tempt, I mean, if you don't hit that bubble, then you should count on Odie having the hands to dodge some of the skill shots. And that's why I think there's actually so much pressure on Odie in this series to show up, because he's allowed to do so in the draft.
It does come in trade, of course, for Shikari, getting some time alone that topside tower and securing that one, so at least the towers are kept relatively even. In fact, Bifrost ahead right now, but X7, with having teleported down here, will secure this second dragon.
And also we have to keep into consideration that there is a Herald in Haru's pocket as well. You can actually choose to pop it down the mid lane and make Vex's life a hell when farming.
He's going to use the Unstoppable from the ultimate to buy some space. Quickness was popped from Haru, but couldn't quite get in range and didn't want to pop the flash. So it will be trade of ultimate for ultimate there.
But Bifrost right now, they're stabilizing a little bit. Yes, X7 still the one with a tempo advantage, and we can see from their plays as well that they are avoiding to match any fight with X7. Every time X7 is committing to a play, Bifrost, they're trying to cross-map it instead, and they're waiting for the time where they feel comfortable. Right now, it must be when Odie finally finishes up that Moral Mana, maybe when you get the third item and you want to start looking for a pick. That's where Bifrost suddenly starts to show up, and that's what X7 needs to be worried about. Yes, they're playing around with a lot of tempo currently, but if they start making mistakes, then Bifrost has a very good composition to punish on those mistakes.
I just think X7 are an excellent example of a team team that respects their opponents. They smash them back to back, and they're respecting everything that Bifrost are doing into this game. The weak side knows how to get back, and C-Boy is just not gonna get a freaking smite this game. It seems very unlucky for him, but whilst top lane was being pushed by Sikari, X7 takes mid lane, which is very important. Opens up the map, creates that darkness into C-Boy's jungle. X7 is taking bot lane during that time. So even though, yes, Bifrost are trying to make a play, X7 will capitalize ×2 on the other side.
And what a sense of growth that's been for X7, because often we've said they don't respect their enemy teams in the mid game, in the late game. It's often been where they've been punished a little, honestly, even by Bifrost in the previous series, and that is a great step in favor. I'm hoping we haven't cursed him, as Jaeger is about to potentially get jumped on here by Duel and Fury, as the Shadow Surge was popped. He's going to get under turret, but has actually got a fair amount of safety. Flashes out from the Everfrost and Solar Flare. Uses the collateral damage, trying to clear some of the way. Fury was taking tower shots. He's going to have to pop the stopwatch, and that's not what you want to see. Big misstep from the mid laner.
Check out the other side of the map. It is Nata and Haru on the other side trying to take that tier 2 top lane as well. So at the end of the day, it is gonna not get traded.
Yeah, and that's the C-Boy tries to look for play here. Haru should be able to disengage it.
Takes a lot of damage on the C-Boy. He can now go in, forces the ultimate out. There's teleport coming through. Shikari solo has to flash as well. Now the teleports are coming back through, but Fury is in a 1 versus 3 until Odie will turn up. And now X7 need to try and extricate themselves. There'll be a flash for misses the personal space. Fury with some uncharacteristic misplays here, some unneeded ones, and now the Mystic shots can start coming through. The boulder's just short. C-Boy so low in the other side of the map. Kasing and Temps trying to trade out against Duel. The Eclipse shield come through. Quickness is there, and Duel will go down with it. Surely, but not before a stopwatch comes down. We'll try and tie it up. On the other side, Nata has a double kill, finally shut down by C-Boy. It will turn into a 2-for-1 as Nata is finally shut down. Maybe not a 3-for-1, actually. Is what on earth happened over there?
It's a 5 versus 3 out of everything.
Wait, that was a 1 versus 3 from Nata.
It's 1 versus 3 from Nata. Jaeger wasn't even part of the play. Bifrost, they're so scattered and they're so desperate. Like, this is not restrained. The fact that you're committing this hard to a play, we've been saying they've been cross-mapping the entire time. They've not been wanting to match a play. This time around, when they match one, they're so desperate to make it succeed. They need the momentum as a team. They need something to go right for them, not only in this game, but for the entirety of this series. So when this misplay comes out from Fury, it's really just a disaster from X7.
I just feel like they're on a completely different page. Fury says, I have the fear, I can flash W in, keep going. But then C-Boy and Shikari are just so low that they cannot. And then on the other side, you have the bot lane trying to flank around, but the rest of X7 is there. I can see the sentiment of Bifrost being, guys, this is a 4v5. If we have to catch them, it's going to be right here, because Jaeger's on the other side of the map. Jaeger takes a tier 2 down the bot lane, all alone, unbothered, whilst he's ADC with 10% HP, 1v3s.
Fury, that is now a stopwatch that had to be burned because of taking tower shot. That is a missed flash personal space for the double fear that cost them huge in that topside play. I know it's a tough situation. I know you're 0-2 down in game score, but that is not what you need to be doing against a team of the caliber of X7.
You just need a pick. You need something that gives momentum right now. That's all you really need. Something that brightens up the communication, because Bifrost, quite frankly, they are still in a decent spot. They're not even that much gold far behind compared to what they've been the other games. But it feels like they're stressing themselves.
I'm actually not mad about what Fury has been trying to do this game. I feel like we've criticized a lot his regular split, absolutely, but I think he's trying to go above and beyond. Sam is going to miss, Sam is going to hit, X7 hits.
That will definitely make some damage come through. Kasing Battle Dance. Grand Ends just try and get a quickness, but won't quite make it happen. Bifrost left on some very low HP bars, particularly Duel, who is about an auto attack away from death, and with the dragon spawning, Bifrost in a very precarious situation.
X7 is playing this so well around that poke as well, because Nata is finally getting so fed on the Ezreal. You get the poke from the Tempt as well, and you don't even have to win the team fight. It's just the fact that you're forcing them out with your abilities to make sure that they're not in a position to fight it. The main issue for Bifrost currently is that they're not just pulling the trigger. They can't wait for the perfect moment all the time. They have to create it with their composition. They have to be the aggressors. And if you can't, well, then you're going to be losing these extended fights where it's just coming down to the poke, and you don't really get to be aggressive with the Vex, with the Leona, with the Volibear.
Bifrost need to be decisive into pressing the button. They need to go in before all the poke lands. Zoe poke, Ezreal poke, Graves ult, somebody gets blown up, and that somebody could even be the Volibear, which is your front line. This is why I'm not bad with Fury, trying to make these plays, even if he misses the flash, even if he misses the fear, he has to make an aggressive play happen before people get poked to death. So the only problem is that Bifrost have not necessarily been able to chain their actions together, to say go and seeing them all go at the same time. Mind you, they're not that far behind. It's just a 4,000 gold deficit that they find themselves in. They still have champions that can blow people up with Vex on 2 items and Xayah on 3. So they're at a pretty good state where if they catch someone off guard from X7, they could pull the win.
And you can see OD has managed to get themselves at least a minor gold lead here. Has often been the recipient of pressure for Bifrost in this series, though unfortunately not to the results they would like. Either way, Tempt, Nata, Jaeger, all at exceptionally strong points. That is Collector plus Last Whisper to ensure no amount of armor will matter right now. The burst from X7 is catastrophically large. And you're right, they need to pull the trigger before the burst can come through, before the poke can come through. But that window, the amount of time you can hold up to it, is so small now.
But once again, just look at the map. Like, look at the vision control. Right. You barely see any blue wards. Look, like, I'm not...
Straight across the map.
Everything is just red. Currently, everything is owned by X7. So, like, Bifrost, they're not just losing the laning phase, they're not just losing the tempo, they're losing the vision on the map. And now,
oh, the bubble down the wall. It's an absolute sniper shot from Tempt. Duel is the target, flashes out from the paddle star. Fury has now arrived. It would be a 4v4. Shadow Surge comes through.
Here he comes.
Going in, gets the flee, the fear out. Nata trying to shut out as best he can, flashing away. That's 2 kills back for Bifrost. Is this the moment they were waiting for? They'll take 2. Can they get more as Fury gets a shutdown? And it's Haru alone against the world. Has got a stopwatch. Here comes Jaeger, trying to burn down as many people as he can, but a stopwatch. A Zhonya's from Fury, and Bifrost may have done it. They've got themselves 4 Barons alive, and none of their members are dead. They can finally find a moment in this series.
And that's how you do it, baby. You push the trigger all at once. X7 choose the wrong target. They choose to go onto that Leona, and Bifrost turn Neat around, and props to Fury yet again, stepping up, getting these Vex ults. Jaeger, can you 1v5?
Just so much damage. Whoa! Oh my god, that's Xayah down. Duel's on no HP. Or single auto, a Collector would take him out. They're trying to chase onto Jaeger, and he, in a one-man against 5, stops the Baron. A final auto into Shikari would also secure him. Not quite enough. And that Graves is sticking them all in his namesake.
Lone man standing. Jaeger have done this.
No.
True Shot Barrage not going to be enough. No one's going to be hit by it. But look at the Baron now. Look at the member who's respawned. X7 can pick this up. It looked like the brink of victory for Bifrost. But X7, they might have snatched it right back.
They got a 4 for none. And Jaeger, 1v4, 1v5, teleported and stops the Baron. They get a Baron in trade.
It's gone.
What on earth?
And Duel might be in a bad position.
No.
Trouble bubble.
No, the best moment all series, and it's turned into an absolute catastrophe, an apocalypse. X7 are 2-0 up in this series with another member dead. They're going to get Shikari as well. Haru's going down. It probably is. I think X7 are going to the group stage of EU Masters.
Calm the horses just yet. Still 30 seconds on Fury, 20 on Duel.
Eyes on.
Let's have a look at this one. Mid lane still being pushed down. 2 cannon minions. But look at that. Soul is spawning in less than 1 minute. And just like that, X7 decides, let's set up for that instead. Let's clear out the jungle camps. Let's put up the vision. And let's go for the resets.
One of the best plays we've seen from Bifrost was turned completely around by the Graves that they've been leaving unattended on a side lane. And Jaeger blows them up. That was a great play by him. He didn't try to overextend. All he tried to do was get whatever heal he could and stop the Baron from being taken. And due to all the resets from the side of Bifrost, X7 just sprinted the Baron, and it ended up being disaster.
It's crazy to think about it. It's also because they couldn't quite pin down Jaeger in that last team fight. That could have been a kill. They misplayed it a little bit and thought it was going to be good enough, but we're going straight out that recall. Soul has...
Duel's HP bar disappears. He's just about alive, but there's no easy way of making an engage happen now. He is going on a one-way trip as Tempt continues to turn into a battle station worthy of the Empire. Somewhere out there is a very big disturbance in the Force. There's a very big disturbance in Europe because X7 are in an utterly commanding position.
And if you already didn't have enough poke from the side of X7, add the Hextech Soul as well into all this, add the Zap, at the slow, at the chase. X7 are chasing that #1 seed ticket straight into EU Masters, baby.
There are so many times we have talked about super teams around the world, and they have failed. When you've got players the caliber of X7, world champions on your roster, we have seen it crumble apart. We were worried for X7 at points when we came into players and we saw that series against Bifrost. We wondered, are they as good as we think they are? They've come in today and they have demolished. They have done what G2 said they were going to do in 2018 and 19. They came in not to win, but to traumatize. EU Masters, be afraid. This team is just on another level right now.
They definitely are, and they're still continuing. Remember, this is a poke composition. You got Baron of minions. You got the Hextech Drake. One ability lands even on a minion. That slows, goes just like a static shiv, all static shiv, along all those members, and makes the poke even more difficult to deal with, even harder to dodge. The common skill shows, just look at that from a true shot barrage. Mid lane now being pushed in, they're playing it cleverly, they're playing it on 2 lanes, and surely it's just a matter of time before Bifrost, they have to look for desperation
Oh,
again.
one last chance, baby.
Duel is down, no way out of this, and X7, it's a victory march, the trophies in their sights. They are about to prove exactly why all the predictions before the split were correct. Welcome to your thrones, oh lords, oh masters, oh kings of the NLC. X7 are marching on Nexuses, they're marching on Europe, and there will be none who can stand before their fury. GG 3-0 X7.
They're still playing around with those KDA, they're still padding up, but we will get the explosion. And just like that, it was a fast one. It was pre-30 minutes. All of these series games that they came through. And you gotta give it to them. They are looking stellar. It's difficult to just pinpoint one specific player from this roster because they all showed up today.
3 different compositions, 3 different games, 3 different carries, 3 different play styles. They nailed every single one of them against the team that they could not beat in the regular season. Honestly, Europe, we're coming.
Oh yeah. I think I should be on this team. They have done just extraordinary things. And
Also, thanks for the prediction.
Absolutely. And of course, like the level of improvement from the initial time we saw them players where there were mistakes, where we saw the brilliance, but also the failings. Didn't seem like there were any on Stro today. Outside of one misplay around the mid lane turret, it was pretty damn clean.
That's the thing. The only thing that went well for Bifrost was shot down immediately. And just like that, no more to play for. As we already talked about, Jaeger showed up, Hara and Temp showed up as per usual. Naruto on the Ezreal in the last one, and Kasing even flashing forward for Lulu to save them. Everyone had a montage clip today that they can just be proud of.
I'm just mind blown from the utmost respect we saw coming out of an X7 that had a few happy games in the regular split, but right here, it was like serious face on, we go through.
Well, are you not entertained? X7 are your NLC champions here in spring 2022. They will be our #1 seed going into EU Masters. And from myself, from Trouble and Gulborg, pleasure working with you today.
Same.
We'll throw ourselves the analyst desk and they'll break it down even more. See you then. Yes.
Thank you so much, guys. Good job. And there we go. X7 are the champions of Spring Split. And we thought Bifrost had enough time to prepare versus X7. And I think they did. But X7 did the same as well. They got a clean 3-0. No one could stop them. And there you go. This is a beautiful image to begin with. Spring 2022 champions, X7. That is beautiful. They get the throne.
There's an X in there
They get the
somewhere.
crown. What?
Said there's an X somewhere in there.
You did him dirty. You did.
The true X team of the NLC, right? There we go. That's what we've come across.
Coming to fight you for it next summer, though.
Absolutely.
Oh, I like that. That's a clean 3-0 coming in for X7. What a performance they brought in versus Bifrost. There's nothing you can do. It's not Bifrost not playing to the standards. It's X7 going above and beyond.
Yeah, and you know, for all that we can point out some things that we wanted maybe a bit more from Bifrost, the real story of today and how it should be is X7 came in and cracked heads. They came in and played at an incredible level. They came in and played at a level which makes us think that, hey, you know that EU Masters, which we've ended in the finals a couple of times for? Maybe we can push that a step further. Again, it puts them into the question. There's a long time between here. Well, there's a long distance, rather, to kind of go in that metaphorical journey towards that kind of title and towards that kind of level. And you know, it's always difficult going between region and that EU Masters. But as fans of the region, as people that have covered this league as well, you always want to have that hope to continue onwards. And this has made me very hopeful.
I will have to say that the MVP awards we did at the beginning of the show, there's a sentence that I brought in. The idea that we're delivering this MVP without seeing today's game. And Haru has been a beast so far. And today, he was godlike. There's no way around that player. We did a questionnaire at the beginning of the split, and obviously we still have a lot to bring out to the community. But one of the things that caught my eye was Haru talking about how can you actually manage the League of Legends time to your real time. And the answer is I play 13 hours a day, I sleep, and I rest 3 hours. That's all I have. Aside from that, I'm always playing. And he showed it today. This is what makes champions, and he was a champion.
He was. And can I just say on a personal note as well, you know, like this guy over here sat in that seat, he sits there and he reads through all these notes and he preps those kind of facts, and that work ethic really shows through when you come up with statements like that. I'm like, wait, I didn't know that. I didn't check that questionnaire back at this point. That was back at the start of the split. I can't remember all of that.
Storyline, baby. Thank you so
He comes
much.
in, he's well read, he is.
13 hours a day, 3 hours of rest.
Yeah.
Actually, that is actually quite close. Now, we have the interview ready for the winner. We have with us for the final time of Spring Split. It is no other than the cat, Kasing. Welcome! Congratulations, man. How are you feeling?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I thought I'll be much more happier, but it's more like a sense of relief, right? I've played NLC, I guess, in the past for like 2 years or 2 splits, 3 years? No, 3 splits or something. And I never won. So, you know, I was honestly a bit worried that I might get like reverse swept after going 0-2. Oh, sorry, after going 2-0 because it happened in BTXL last time playing against Fnatic Rising. But, you know, I'm really thankful for my teammates, honestly, especially Haru.
Especially Haru. Do you want to make a question? I know you want to.
Oh, God, I have so many questions.
Well, please
I have
start.
so many.
Please
Well,
do.
I suppose now, of course, like the question becomes about scope in terms of, right, NLC, that's done. Awesome. Silverware trophy achieved. Cool. First team to get this new trophy and stuff. But there is a level above. There is EU Masters. Now, you were there last split with Giants.
Yes.
Yeah, and obviously, like, that was a team with a lot of expectations coming into it too. That was a very strong team. Do you have any do you have a good benchmark for yourself compared to where you feel like you perform compared to previous rosters you've been at that level with? How are you feeling about X7 going into EU Masters?
I think to summarize it mostly with every time I've been to EU Masters, the highest I've ever reached is top 8 in quarters. Every single time we've lost to the eventual winners. Pretty much LDLC for that year that LDLC won. Then we lost to which other team won? K-Corp as well. We had them as well, and it was just like every time. We were always like against a team that was kind of stronger than us. Obviously, last year was Misfits with Giants. But I feel that the difference, or the biggest difference in X7 is that I have teammates that have a lot more experience compared to the usual, I guess, players that just kind of play in the ERL for a long time, especially if, like, you know, my mid-jung was Haru and Tent. I can never expect that. If you asked me that, 1 year ago, whatever, even 6 months ago, I'll never believe it.
It's like, remember that meme of like Svenskar on a C9? It's like, he gave me a list of 10 names which I had to play with. Those are the kind of names which would like for an ERL level team, I was like, what names could you put on a list? He's like, give me, Tempt and Haru. And he just randomly turns up on a roster like that. It is obviously a very fortunate happenstance, but it's like a culmination of a lot of different journeys in this roster, it feels like.
There's something you talked about, Kasing, and I want to bring that over into a question. Obviously, everybody's trying to run away from that question, but you brought a name, K-Corp. And you know probably you will fight versus them. How are you feeling for that matchup? Because you know they're going to do a boot camp. Everybody knows the leagues. They're going to leave Europe as well. I mean, what can you say? Because there's a huge fight going on, and I do believe NLC is kind of stacked.
I mean, apart from that, the mini drama that happened with the. Actually, I can't even say. I can't even talk about it just because in case
nothing happened.
Nothing happened, man. Nothing happened.
I'm still in close contact with 113, my last jungler, or Boom, in Giants, and I've been keeping up with him, how it's going, and K-Corp and stuff, because he's playing with Living Legend like Reckless. But it's much more about like, I think by the time we get to E-Masters, I think K-Corp will be more than ready to face us, because I don't want the games to be stumps, right? I want it to be like a kind of a banger match, and I think it will be if we do eventually get to play against them.
Okay, I like that. Do you have a question, Torok? I mean, you gotta have a question for Kasing.
I mean, absolutely right. I mean, coming off a series like this, 3-0 in the finals, and then moving into your Masters, obviously really dominant throughout the entire finals. How do you think you're going to fare in the main stage? Do you have any teams you're actually thinking about? Are there any teams that you think, oh, they could take a best of one of us? Or are you feeling relatively confident against the entire field that actually maybe there's no team that you're going to play that's going to be the winners of your Masters because you think you're the favorites yourselves?
I mean, if you think about it this way, right? If you think about, like, let's say the grand finals are happening today in the other regions, like, you know, with BDS Academy, sorry, and what's the other one? Like, Talent Team? K-Cops? No, it was another one. Sorry, sorry. It is my. Sorry, my head is.
It's fine, man. It's fine. It's just won the trophy.
Sorry.
But,
What I wanted to say is, like, the grand finals basically of the other regions. I don't think we are necessarily scared, but rather it's more about ourselves. If we don't play bad, we'll probably win. And this is pretty much the motto. Like, even with today, right? I think our 3 games showed, I guess, kind of like similar to our scrim performance when we're actually all, you know, trying for our life. I think the game's quite easy. But every time when we lost it, even in NLC, in regular split, or even like in playoffs against Bifrost in the upper bracket, it was more because of us individually, like, making mistakes or trying to get off too much plays or whatever. I think this has always been our problem, right? So if you can fix this, we'll take the whole thing.
Okay, so
that is the best reply. Tell me.
So we focused on a lot of EMAS stuff, and like that's obviously that's big thing coming up. But like one thing that we were doing a lot during the show today as well is kind of reminiscing about the split and thinking about our favorite moments coming around. I was wondering if you had any favorite moments from the split as a whole. Obviously, it's a new iteration of the NLC. A lot of changes came into it. Obviously, you came back. And actually, one of our favorite moments was the turnaround fight you had against Eminem right in the first round robin at the Tier 2 turret dive. Has there been any 1 or 2 moments that have really stuck out for you across the whole split?
I mean, I think the one moment, I forgot which team it was against. I think it was against JDXL when my mid and
tell you.
Kali and Jarvan. You know, I've never experienced my mid and jungle just being like, you know what, guys, you all have been griefing us. We Koreans are just going to carry you all. And I was just like, you know what? I'm so happy. I love Korea. That's literally what I said, bro. I was like, my goodness, I appreciate Koreans. I love them so much. That was one memory I remember.
Can we get a clip of that, please? I feel like that's gonna. I think that's gonna do really well. A lot of content in the future.
Kasing, congratulations another time, man. You got the trophy. You are now the king of the North. Your team is the king of the North. It's up for you, massive, with you guys. You know I bet my hair with you guys. I'm trusting NLC all the way. It doesn't matter what happens. It's always a pleasure to have you with us, and that smile is completely priceless, man.
Can you give us like one more cat for us to leave this split out with?
One last meow. Can you give me one last meow?
I cannot be
just for me.
One last meow for every X7 fan out there. Give us one last meow.
I'm just saying, if you guys are Tier 3 subscribers, maybe you get something. You know, I'm just saying. Those do not go lightly for free, guys. I'm just saying.
Love it, Kasing. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon, man. Have a nice one. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Can I say I love putting people on the spot like that?
Yes, it's the best. Okay, really strong words from Kasing. The idea that if we play our best, if we do our best, it doesn't matter who we are up against, we might take you, Master. That's exactly what I want to know.
Mentality.
That's exactly what my hair wants to know as well, because I'm betting this one. I'm going to go bald. Looking into the bracket, we need to understand how we got here. Look at this. It is sucked. JDXL lost versus Riddle 3-1, Dusty won versus Vanir 3-0. Then it switched it over to Riddle versus Dusty. Dusty took them on 3-0, and then at semifinals was actually a banger. It was 5 games, and we thought we were going to have the same today. Bifrost obviously took down Dusty with 3-0, and today it was a clean sweep from X7. Like, that is... I was not expecting this. Were you guys expecting this?
Not to this extent. I think X7 really prepped well. I think that this is always the danger with like high stakes best of 5s, because you tunnel in so much in your prep, and sometimes in quite a short amount of time, you're prep. If that goes in the wrong direction even slightly, sometimes you get through to the first draft and you're like, oh shit, this isn't working. And it kind of all snowballs from there. And I think we saw that in the first game, and the first 2 games really. It was like, if that 3rd game had been the first game, this might have been a 5-game series. It wasn't. They lost 2 pretty freebies at the start of it, and X7 were ruthless at how they dealt with it.
X7 were playing their style. As Kasing said there, right? It's not just him saying, oh, we need to stick to how we want to play the game, we need to stick to our ethos, blah, blah. What he's actually coming in and doing, he's showing us through action. X7 is showing how they want to play League of Legends, and we're completely dominant today.
They seemed quite different at the end of the split. We actually thought, okay, X7 are sloppy now. What is happening? But they came into playoffs and they showed us that this is a stacked super team. Now we want to see the priceless play of the day. There's always a play that comes at the top of every single one. So let's take a peek at what the production decided to make the priceless play of the day by MasterCard. Oh yeah.
Oh man.
When you thought you could do it. Oh man.
So, I mean, this is the kind of play where, again, we were saying, look, if this is the play which happened in game 1, if this was game 1, series goes completely differently. This is actually the deciding game, and that is the first real look in which Bifrost had at any winning scenario across the whole damn series. And it's just one shotgun boy comes in and ruins the hopes and dreams of all the Bifrosts.
Jaeger came in and shut that door down completely.
Yeah.
There is Avengers gameplay when you're looking like, okay, we have 5 members looking at Baron. We have everything. We have a god, and appears Jaeger. I mean, I'm Jaeger, so I can take you all down. I have a shotgun.
For one last time in this NLC split, it's attack on Jaeger. There we go.
Attack on Jaeger. Love it. Okay, I think it's time. I don't want to do this, but I think it's time. So before I wrap up the entire split, Nymeta, final words.
I was not prepared for that. Well,
don't you love putting people on spots?
Shut up, you. We did a similar kind of thing at the end of regular split, but this has been obviously a big time of change for the NLC, both us as broadcasters, as for the teams as well, and everyone involved. And I have to say, I'm really happy and very proud of the product that we've put out and the show that we put out. And we hope that you as viewers, who are a large part of that, actually, because we don't get to do what we do without you there in chat, without you there on your socials, without you watching. I'm very proud of what we've put out, and we hope you've enjoyed the journey too.
Torak, I know it's your first time and last time in Spring Split as well, obviously. Do you have any words as a coach coming into this scene as well and doing what you did and now being able to watch this from the studio? Can you tell anything to the audience?
Torak.
I was not expecting anything else from this one. So it's up to me to wrap up the entire show for this split. I gotta say, it was a pleasure. Obviously, just as Nymeta said, you guys are part of the show. You guys are part of our family. Production, you were amazing. You did an amazing job. For the casters, for the entire people. There they are. Look at them. Every single one of these guys have been working non-stop to get you the product that you have been able to see. For the casters, you guys are amazing as well. You made me feel like I was at home, even though I was in a different country, that I don't speak that language. I felt like I was part of the family. It was scary, but it was wonderful. It was beautiful. Here they are.
Come on,
They're joining in. Join us, guys, please. I don't care. Just join in.
Come on, let's give a bow. Let's give a bow.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I want to say something really special as well. Before we do the bow, for the players that I know they're going to leave NLC, or new players, man, you guys were valuable. You guys are part of NLC. It was a pleasure to make interviews, to get to know you as a person. You're not only a player. You are a person. You are part of the show. And I'm your host, Alexandra Sharamaya. I'll see you in summer. Have a nice one.